Chapter 2375. However, because the Ruins of Immortality auction was approaching, the prices of various materials and immortal spirit herbs were very low. Other than some extremely rare treasures, the prices of other materials had dropped to about 30% of their original prices. The Myriad Treasure Tower was the one who offered 30% of the original price. However, after 10 days, the Myriad Treasure Tower had no choice but to lower the price to 25%. Even after lowering the price to 25%, there was still an endless stream of martial practitioners heading to the Myriad Treasure Tower to sell spirit materials and immortal spirit herbs. In the South Ruined Cities market, the prices of these items had already been reduced to 20% or even less. Tang Ao had no need for low-grade immortal spirit herbs. In fact, 4 herb gardens had already been opened up in Tang Ao's chaotic hexagram mirror. However, 2 of these 4 gardens were basically empty at the moment. Tang Ao's first garden was filled with spirit herbs. Almost all of the common and rare spirit herbs could be seen in Tang Ao's first garden. Other than a very few extremely rare spirit herbs, Tang Ao's first garden could be considered to have gathered all the spirit herbs he needed. In the second garden, Tang Ao had planted rank 1 to rank 3 immortal herbs. Although it wasn't as complete as the spirit herbs, most of the rank 1 to rank 3 immortal herbs could be seen in Tang Ao's second garden. As for Tang Ao's third herb garden, it was planted with tier 4 to tier 6 immortal herbs. However, the third herb garden was completely empty and there were no immortal herbs to be seen. The fourth herb garden was completely empty. This fourth herb garden was prepared to be used by Tang Ao to grow tier 7 to tier 9 immortal herbs. However, Tang Ao didn't have such high-grade immortal herbs. Therefore, the fourth herb garden could only be left empty. After learning that medicinal herbs were actually so cheap in South Ruined City, Tang Ao had an idea. He set up a stall and exchanged pills for medicinal herbs. Although most martial practitioners hoped to obtain immortal crystals because the Ruins of Immortality auction only accepted immortal crystals, many martial practitioners participated in the auction to obtain some special pills. Why wouldn't they be happy if they could obtain pills refined by a rank 1 immortal pill master like Tang Ao? Now that he could purchase pills refined by a grade 1 alchemy king like Tang Ao, why not? However, no one knew that Tang Ao was no longer a grade 1 alchemy master, but a grade 3 alchemy master. Tang Ao's actions immediately alleviated the pressure on South Ruined City's market, and the price of medicinal herbs also began to rise steadily. In the end, it returned to its usual 40% price. Soon, the news that Tang Ao was using medicinal pills to purchase spirit materials spread. Thus, long queues formed outside the 9-moon elixir pavilion every day. Tang Ao only had a total of 500,000 immortal crystals on him. However, Tang Ao had as many pills as he wanted. Even if some medicinal pills were exchanged, with Tang Ao's current alchemy ability, he could immediately refine them. During this period of time, Tang Ao had collected many tier 1 and tier 2 immortal herbs. Tang Ao had even collected some tier 3 immortal herb. However, the quantity was rather low. The same went for spirit materials. Most of them were tier 1 and tier 2, but tier 3 ones were extremely rare. As the Ruins of Immortality auction approached, the crowd in front of the 9-moon elixir pavilion did not decrease. In fact, when the news spread to North Ruined City, the martial practitioners of North Ruined City were extremely envious. Although there were alchemists in North Ruined City, there was naturally no alchemist as strong as Tang Ao. Chapter 2376. The axe was only a grade 1 immortal artifact. However, using the spirit forging technique, Tang Ao managed to refine it 8 times in a row. Ever since Tang Ao started cultivating the spirit forging technique, this was the highest number of times he had refined a single item. After refining the axe 9 times, its power was infinitely close to a grade 9 immortal weapon. If Tang Ao was asked to refine a grade 9 immortal weapon now, Tang Ao would never be able to do it. However, because Tang Ao had mastered the spiritual refinement method, the impossible became possible. Even though there was a successful case, it was obvious that this case could not be replicated. After successfully refining an axe, Tang Ao refined 10 similar axes, but these axes were basically scrapped after 3 times of spiritual refinement. The most successful axe could only last up to 5 times of spiritual refinement before turning into ashes in a puff of smoke. As time passed, there was only 1 day left until the Ruins of Immortality auction. Tang Ao informed the martial practitioners at the entrance of the 9 Moons Pill House that the 9 Moons Pill House would be closed for 3 days. Tang Ao's decision made many people grumble, but there was nothing they could do. Most of them were very grateful to Tang Ao. As the Ruins of Immortality auction approached, spiritual herbs and materials were the least valuable. When the South Ruin City's market square lowered the price to 20%, Tang Ao forcefully raised the price back to 50%. Many people managed to buy pills from Tang Ao and were very satisfied with them. Some of the pills might not even appear in the Ruins of Immortality auction. After the crowd left, Tang Ao brought the pills and immortal weapons he refined and headed to the Ruins of Immortality auction. The Ruins of Immortality auction was located in the depths of the Ruins of Immortality mountain range. The Ruins of Immortality Grand Competition was held once every 1,000 years, and the Ruins of Immortality auction was held once every 100 years. The Ruins of Immortality auction was held close to the Ruins of Immortality Grand Competition, and there would be VIPs from the Langya realm visiting the Ruins of Immortality. Its scale was unprecedented. Normally, it would be very dangerous for many martial artists to even enter the central part of the Ruins of Immortality, let alone enter the depths of the Ruins of Immortality to participate in the Ruins of Immortality auction. However, this time around, the auction of the Ruins of Immortality had directly sent out experts to clear a passage reinforced by a formation from the periphery of the Ruins of Immortality so that everyone could enter the depths of the Ruins of Immortality. As Tang Ao walked along the Ruins of Immortality auction's passageway, he could sense a powerful soul psyche scanning his surroundings every time he walked a certain distance. By the time Tang Ao saw the magnificent Ruins of Immortality auction in front of him, Tang Ao had already sensed 3 such auras. Tang Ao guessed that the 3 auras came from Yinyang realm martial artists. The purpose was to protect the guests attending the auction, as well as to warn the crowd not to play any tricks during the Ruins of Immortality auction. Tang Ao saw that the entire Ruins of Immortality auction was composed of 3 parts. The largest and most eye-catching part was the auction hall of the Ruins of Immortality auction, followed by the consignment hall and the VIP lounge. This time around, Tang Ao had come to submit an item for auction. However, as soon as Tang Ao arrived at the consignment hall, he was immediately shocked by the scene in front of him. There were 30 windows in the entire consignment hall, but there was a long queue at all of them. Tang Ao estimated that if he were to queue here, he might not even be able to submit an item for auction when the auction started tomorrow. Chapter 2377. The young man looked at Tang Ao in surprise. How could Tang Ao not know about the treasure appraisal channel when he came to the Ruins of Immortality auction? However, because he couldn't see through Tang Ao's cultivation, he said politely, "Any treasure can be auctioned at the Ruins of Immortality auction. However, ordinary items like these can only be auctioned through the auction window." The young man's tone changed, and he said in a slightly envious tone, "However, if you have some precious items, you can go to the treasure appraisal channel and have them appraised by a master appraiser. After the appraiser appraises the item, you can choose to sell it directly to the Ruins of Immortality auction or auction it. Even if the item is not auctioned, the Ruins of Immortality auction will eventually buy it. Generally speaking, the Ruins of Immortality auction will offer a very suitable price for a treasure that can be appraised by a master appraiser. Thank you for your advice. Tang Ao clasped his fists towards the young man and walked towards the treasure appraisal channel. Tang Ao felt that the items he had on him could be considered as treasures among treasures in the ruins of immortals, even if they were in other places. Therefore, it was only natural for him to go to the treasure appraisal channel. However, Tang Ao's behavior shocked the young man. The young man wanted to remind Tang Ao that he needed an identity card to enter the treasure appraisal channel, but Tang Ao had already walked far away. The young man didn't dare to make any noise. As Tang Ao walked to the treasure appraisal channel, a group of young men and women walked over from a distance. This group of people had extraordinary temperaments and wore blue robes. When they looked at the people in the auction hall, many of them had looks of contempt and disdain in their eyes. It was as if they were superior to the people in the auction hall, while the people in the auction hall were inferior. Tang Ao immediately knew who these people were. The scale of the Ruins of Immortality auction this time was unprecedented. Apart from the grand competition of the Ruins of Immortality, there was another important reason. There were VIPs from the Langya realm visiting the Ruins of Immortality. These people must be VIPs who had come to visit the Ruins of Immortality. Judging from their clothes, they seemed to be from a certain force. Tang Ao glanced at it for a moment, then shifted his gaze and walked straight towards the treasure appraisal channel. After entering, Tang Ao discovered that there were actually 2 cultivators guarding the treasure appraisal passageway. When Tang Ao walked over, one of the black-faced men coldly snorted, "Show me your identity jade token." An identity token from the auction? Tang Ao was stunned. This was Tang Ao's first time attending the Immortal Ruins auction. Tang Ao didn't know that the Immortal Ruins auction required an identity token. Seeing that Tang Ao didn't even know his identity token, the man's eyes flashed with disdain. Just as Tang Ao was about to ask how to obtain an identity token in the Ruins of Immortality, a piercing voice came from behind him. "Get lost." The person who had spoken was a pale-faced young man. This young man was one of the people Tang Ao had seen earlier. When they saw this group of people, the cultivators behind Tang Ao, who were supposed to be appraising treasures, moved aside in a fawning manner. However, Tang Ao turned a blind eye to them. If this wasn't the Ruins of Immortality auction, Song Dongquan would have taught Tang Ao a lesson. Chapter 2378. After sensing Tang Ao's frightening aura, Song Dongquan's footsteps stopped, and his expression changed. Just as he was about to say something, Tang Ao walked to the side. He was here to auction something, not to cause trouble. Otherwise, Tang Ao wouldn't mind teaching a lesson to a disrespectful person like Song Dongquan. After Tang Ao left, Song Dongquan looked at Tang Ao's back, and a fierce look flashed through his eyes. Song Dongquan was a martial artist from the Tao-Seeking Academy. Although he was a bit of a spoiled brat, being able to enter the Tao-Seeking Academy meant that he was a genius martial artist. Usually, because he was an outer courtyard disciple of the Tao-Seeking Academy and a direct descendant of the Song family, Song Dongquan had to be polite to his peers no matter where he went. But today, Tang Ao, a native of the Ruins of Immortality, dared to talk back to him. At this moment, Song Dongquan was secretly determined to teach Tang Ao a lesson after the Immortal Ruins of Immortality auction. Song Dongquan could tell that Tang Ao's current cultivation base was at the 3rd level of the astral reaching realm, which was 2 levels lower than him. Under such circumstances, he would definitely let Tang Ao die without even knowing how he died. The people behind Song Dongquan also looked at Song Dongquan and Tang Ao with a strange expression. Obviously, they didn't expect that a native martial artist of the Ruins of Immortality would dare to offend a student of the Tao-Seeking Academy. In the east region of the Langya realm, there were 5 great academies. These 5 academies were above all the sects, controlling more than 70% of the resources in the entire East region. Although the Eastern region also had various king-level experts, these experts were suppressed by the 5 great academies. Moreover, most of these marquee experts came from the 5 great academies. Therefore, most of the marquee experts from the 5 great academies were supportive of the 5 great academies. They would even give the students of the 5 great academies some convenience when they came to their territories. As long as one could enter the 5 academies, even the most ordinary outer courtyard disciple would have a very high status. Song Dongkuan's group were all outer courtyard disciples of the Tao-seeking Academy, one of the 5 academies. It was also because of their arrival that the scale of the Ruins of Immortality auction was unprecedented. This time, it wasn't just the Tao-seeking Academy's cultivators who had come. Cultivators from the 5 great academies and the Greenwood Academy had also come. However, the martial artists from the Greenwood Academy had already arrived 7 days ago, and were currently resting in the VIP lounge. After Tang Ao retreated to the side, he immediately discovered something interesting. Tang Ao thought that the black-faced man who was in charge of checking the identity jade card only had a bad attitude towards him, but Tang Ao soon discovered that no matter who this black-faced man talked to, he always had a high and mighty attitude. Even Song Dongkuan did not dare to act rashly in front of this black-faced burly man. He obediently took out a golden identity jade token. Some of the people behind Song Dongkuan took out their silver identity jade cards, while others took out their golden identity jade cards like Song Dongkuan. Just as this group of people was about to enter the treasure appraisal passageway, Tang Ao suddenly saw a young girl walking at the back take out a purple gold identity jade card. After seeing this purple gold identity jade card, the black-faced burly man's expression finally eased a little. He even squeezed out a smile at the young girl. However, even this smile was full of killing intent. Chapter 2379. If it were any other identity jade token, even if it were a gold identity jade token, it wouldn't be able to bring anyone into the appraisal hall. However, with this purple gold identity jade token, it wouldn't be a problem for her to bring someone into the appraisal hall. Under the guidance of the girl in purple dress, the black-faced man who guarded the treasure appraisal hall snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Tang Ao, what treasure are you here to appraise? Although this was the girl's first time meeting Tang Ao, her easygoing personality made it seem like they had known each other for many years after chatting with Tang Ao for a while. At the same time, Tang Ao also found out the girl's name. She was called Chen Ye and she had an elder sister called Chen Yixiao. The reason why Chen Ye hated Song Dongkuan was because Song Dongkuan had been pressuring the Chen family to marry her elder sister. Her elder sister had been very patient and had disappeared for a long time. Because of this, Chen Ye and Song Dongkuan were like fire and water after entering the Tao-seeking Academy. I'm here to appraise elixirs and immortal equipment. This time, Tang Ao didn't plan to auction anything else. He just wanted to auction the elixirs and immortal equipment that he had refined during this period of time. Tang Ao noticed that there were a total of 5 treasure appraisal rooms in the Ruins of Immortality auction. Although there were certain requirements to enter the treasure appraisal rooms, they were still crowded at the moment. Just as Tang Ao was hesitating about where to go to appraise the treasures, the jade card on Chen Ye's waist suddenly fluctuated. Chen Ye's face lit up and she said to Tang Ao, "This is great. The Chamber of Ruins of Immortality specially added a treasure appraisal room for us. There are too many people here. Let's go there." Tang Ao thought for a moment and followed her. Since there was an additional treasure appraisal room, it should be fine for Tang Ao to take the opportunity to appraise the treasures after the Tao-seeking Academy's students were done appraising the treasures. If not, he would give the storage ring to Chen Ye and let her appraise it for him. Although they had only known each other for a short time, Tang Ao found that this lively girl was easy to get along with. However, for some reason, Most of the Tao-seeking Academy's students were trying to get along with Song Dongkuan and another woman. As for Chen Yeye, there weren't many who were close to her. In Tang Ao's opinion, Chen Yeye was the only one who had a purple-gold identity jade token, so the Chen clan should not be weak. In fact, Tang Ao's guess was correct. The Chen family was indeed a top-notch family in the Langya world's eastern region. In the past, the Chen family was even the leader of the eastern region's 10 families. But because of some unforeseen events, the Chen family slowly declined. Now, the Chen family could only be considered a second-rate family in the eastern region. Otherwise, the small Song family wouldn't dare to the Chen family. However, as the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Although the Chen family had been in decline for 1,000 years, they were still a second-rate family. Even among the second-rate aristocratic families, the Chen family's strength was above average. It wasn't hard to see how terrifying the Chen family's foundation was. Because of this, countless second-rate families had their eyes on the Chen family. The Song family was one of them. The Song family even used their influence to slightly pressure the Chen family. They wanted the Chen family's eldest daughter, Chen Yixiao, to marry Song Dongkuan, a direct descendant of the Song family. Chapter 2380. Tang Ao chose to ignore Song Dongkuan's words. In Tang Ao's opinion, Song Dongkuan was a mad dog that would bite anyone he caught. Tang Ao ignored Song Dongkuan, but Chen Yeye wasn't having it. Seeing Song Dongkuan look down on Tang Ao, Chen Yeye immediately said, "How do you know that Big Brother Tang Ao doesn't have any treasures? When Big Brother Tang Ao takes out his treasures, you'll be blinded. Junior sister Chen, even if you're from the Chen family, you better be polite when you speak to senior brother Song." As soon as Chen Yeye finished her sentence, a young man who had been following Song Dongkuan jumped out and said, "It's none of your business. Do you believe that I won't beat you up?" Chen Yeye didn't avoid the young man. Instead, she raised her fist. Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chen Yeye was like a little chili pepper. She was fine with whatever she liked, but she would explode if she didn't like it. "You!" Ma Lu was infuriated when he heard Chen Yeye's words. They were all outer court disciples of Tao-seeking Academy. He was born poor, so he tried to please Song Dongkuan. However, Chen Yeye's provocation made Ma Lu furious. "What about you? I'm going to beat you up when we get back to Tao-seeking Academy." In Chen Yeye's opinion, Ma Lu usually followed Song Dongkuan around to do bad things. To a certain extent, Ma Lu was even more annoying than Song Dongkuan. Others might be afraid of Song Dongkuan, but Chen Yeye wasn't afraid at all. "I'll be waiting for you at the dueling platform. Don't be afraid." Ma Lu knew that this girl had no sense of propriety and that she would only embarrass herself if she continued. After saying that, he immediately retreated into the crowd. After the crowd quietened down, the old man in charge of appraising coughed and said, "I'm Su Lin. This time, I'll be appraising the items for you. Don't worry, you can take out whatever treasures you have. I'll definitely give you a satisfactory price." Su Lin felt helpless towards this group of young men. If ordinary people dared to quarrel in the treasure appraisal room of the ruins of immortality auction, Su Lin would have already asked someone to send them out. Unfortunately, these people had powerful backgrounds. They were martial artists from Tao-seeking Academy, one of the 5 academies in the eastern region. Moreover, the Wendao Academy was not just one of the 5 academies in the eastern region. The current lord of the Langya realm and a half-step Tao master from the Chamber of Immortal Ruins were both from the Wendao Academy. As such, the status of the Tao-seeking Academy in the Langya realm was even higher. "Grandmaster Su, this is the item I want to auction." After Su Lin finished speaking, a martial artist handed over a tricolored pill in a jade bottle. Generally speaking, although there were many colors of medicinal pills, almost all of them were pure colors. A tricolored medicinal pill like this was extremely rare. Furthermore, this tricolored pill was not meant for martial artists, but for immortal beasts. Triple reversal blood reversal pill. After seeing this pill, even Su Lin's eyebrows twitched. Others might not recognize this elixir, but as a grade 2 alchemy master, how could Su Lin not recognize it? Many immortal beasts had powerful bloodlines left behind from ancient times, but due to various reasons, these bloodlines were constantly weakening. Chapter 2381. The Grand Elder of Tao Seeking Academy, who was passing by the restaurant, saw that the black bull was extraordinary and bought it. After buying it, the Grand Elder of Tao Seeking Academy fed the black bull a 3-revolution revolting shui pill that he had obtained by chance. In the end, the black bull fell into a state of suspended animation after consuming the pill and slept for 3,000 years. When the black bull woke up, the Grand Elder of Tao Seeking Academy realized that it wasn't a black bull but a barbaric bull of heaven desolation that had been extinct for tens of thousands of years. Although Tang Ao knew that these fellas were from the Langyu world, Tang Ao didn't expect them to offer a top grade 3 immortal pill, the 3-revolution blood revolting pill. Even so, Tang Ao didn't think too much about it. There were too many good things in the world, and he couldn't possibly have all of them. Tang Ao had a snow-winged spirit cat in his Primal Chaos 6 light mirror. Of course, Tang Ao could concoct the 3-revolution blood revolting pill. However, most of the ingredients needed to concoct the 3-revolution blood revolting pill were already extinct. Therefore, even if Tang Ao wanted to concoct it, he wouldn't be able to. Tang Ao was prepared to buy the 3-revolution blood revolting pill at the auction. 3-revolution blood revolting pill, a powerful pill that can awaken the ancient bloodline of demonic beasts. This pill is not bad and its quality is also very good. I value it at 1 million low-grade immortal crystals. Thank you, Senior. The youth who took out the pill was overjoyed when he heard that Su Lin valued it at 1 million. He had found this 3-revolution blood revolting pill in a relic and he had found a total of 3. He had already sold the other 2 but the total price of the 2 didn't reach 1 million immortal crystals. Congratulations, junior brother he. The surrounding martial artists from Tao Seeking Academy congratulated him when they saw that the pill was worth 1 million immortal crystals. Many people here had around 1 million low-grade immortal crystals, but he had only taken out a pill and it was already equivalent to many people's net worth. He was also overjoyed. At this moment, He's intestines were green with regret. He thought of the 2 pills from before. He had only sold one for 50,000 immortal crystals because he didn't know what it was. The other one was sold in an auction and was only sold for 300,000 immortal crystals. Tang Ao felt that the price given by Su Lin was a bit too high. After all, there weren't many demonic beasts with ancient bloodlines. Furthermore, there was a chance that the 3 revolutions blood reversal pill could awaken the ancient bloodline within a demonic beast. Even if many demonic beasts possessed ancient bloodlines, it was common for them to be unable to awaken even after using the 3 revolutions blood reversing pill. With He's stunning appearance, Tang Ao also looked at the others with anticipation. After all, this group of people had come from the real true martial world. Tang Ao also wanted to see what treasures they had. However, Tang Ao soon realized that his expectations were too high. After all, even the Langyu world couldn't be a place with treasures everywhere. Therefore, after He's triple blood reversal pill, Tang Ao didn't see anything else that interested him. Perhaps they had concerns, or perhaps they were unwilling to take out their treasures to sell, but the items of the last few people were all quite ordinary. In the eyes of ordinary martial artists, it might be a treasure. However, in the eyes of Tang Ao, it was just SOSO. Chapter 2382. In the past, Su Lin could barely guess a thing or two about those treasures. However, other than being able to determine that this incense burner wasn't ordinary, Su Lin didn't know anything else. However, as an appraiser, he couldn't say that this incense burner was extraordinary and worth 1,000,000 immortal crystals. If he did that, then he wouldn't need to come to the Immortal Ruins auction to appraise treasures anymore. Thinking of this, Su Lin sighed. "Lady, please keep this item well. Forgive this old man's poor eyes, but I can't tell what treasure this is. I'm ashamed." Hearing Su Lin say this, the veiled woman lightly smiled. Although she looked indifferent on the surface, her heart was filled with disappointment. This was the only thing her father left behind. Over the years, she had let countless people see this incense burner, but no one knew what it was. Tang Ao couldn't tell what treasure this incense burner was, but Tang Ao had an absurd feeling that there was a faint pill aura fluctuation around this incense burner. This incense burner was used to burn incense. If someone told Tang Ao that this incense burner was used to concoct pills, then Tang Ao really wouldn't be able to accept it. However, the more Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to sense, the clearer this pill aura became. It was as if this incense burner really had concocted many pills in the past, which was why it produced this pill aura. However, even Tang Ao felt this was very absurd. Although he thought this, Tang Ao still couldn't help but ask, "Senior apprentice sister, is this incense burner used by an alchemist to concoct pills?" Hearing Tang Ao's words, everyone instantly looked at Tang Ao. Chen Ye's large eyes were full of astonishment. She even extended her hand to rub Tang Ao's head, wondering if Tang Ao's brain wasn't working well. Song Dongquan first paused, then laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, could it be that this tiny immortal ruins doesn't even have two alchemists? Who told you that you could use an incense burner to concoct pills?" After Song Dongquan laughed, the people beside Song Dongquan also ridiculed him. Their gazes towards Tang Ao became even more disdainful. However, no one saw that when Tang Ao said these words, Su Lin suddenly thought of something and came to a sudden realization. Then, he shook his head. Su Lin probably felt that his idea was a little ridiculous. When the veiled woman in white heard Tang Ao's words, her delicate body trembled. At the same time, a cold light flashed in her beautiful eyes. "How did you know that this is an alchemist's concoction item?" As Bai Luoyu spoke, the qi on his body surged, and his astral-reaching realm level 7 power suddenly covered Tang Ao. It was as if she would immediately kill Tang Ao if he dared to utter a single word of nonsense. When the crowd heard Bai Luoyu's words, they couldn't wrap their heads around it. Was this incense burner really an alchemist's alchemy tool? How was this possible? Bai Luoyu did not know what this incense burner was, but she was certain that it was used by her father to refine medicine. Alchemy was not the same as alchemy. In fact, alchemy was only a type of alchemy. When Bai Luoyu found this incense burner, her father had already disappeared. Only this incense burner and some green powder were found by Bai Luoyu. Chapter 2383. Seeing Bai Luoyu's expression, how could the crowd not know that Tang Ao was right? No matter what Tang Ao was thinking, he was right. This incense burner was actually being used to refine medicine. Tang Ao had originally wanted to say a few words, but now that Bai Luoyu had enveloped Tang Ao with her powerful aura, Tang Ao was immediately angered. He had nothing to do with Bai Luoyu, so it was only natural that he didn't say anything. If Bai Luoyu had spoken nicely, Tang Ao wouldn't have minded revealing his discovery. However, when Bai Luoyu seemed to be flaunting her cultivation, Tang Ao was immediately angered. Immediately, Tang Ao's body trembled and an incomparably refined spiritual energy swept around Tang Ao. With the help of this spiritual energy, Tang Ao actually calmly retreated from Bai Luoyu's murderous intent. After retreating, Tang Ao said coldly, "No comment." Bai Luoyu didn't expect that Tang Ao would refuse to say anything even though she had some clues. At the thought of this, Bai Luoyu's aura erupted and she was about to teach Tang Ao a lesson. No matter what, she had to make Tang Ao spill everything he knew. Humph! Just as Bai Luoyu flew up, a cold snort sounded out of nowhere. Under this cold snort, Bai Luoyu's aura fluctuated violently and she fell from the sky. However, Bai Luoyu didn't dare to act rashly. She hurriedly cupped her fists and said to the void, "This matter has something to do with me. I was too anxious just now. Please forgive me, Senior." After Bai Luoyu said this, the powerful pressure that enveloped this place disappeared. Bai Luoyu also heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Luoyu knew that the pressure should have come from one of the supreme elders of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce. The other party didn't make things difficult for her because she was from the Wendao Academy. Even so, Bai Luoyu's eyes were still fixed on Tang Ao. Although Tang Ao now knew why Bai Luoyu was so agitated, Tang Ao still didn't like Bai Luoyu's attitude. Tang Ao was someone who was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. If you said a few nice words and had a better attitude, Tang Ao would naturally be amiable and easy to talk to. But if you want to take advantage of your power to bully others, then sorry, you've found the wrong target. After this small interlude, another martial artist from the Wendao Academy went to appraise the treasures. However, there were still no rare items. Only when Song Dongquan appeared did Tang Ao turn his gaze to look again. The axe in Song Dongquan's hand also attracted everyone's attention. Even Bai Luoyu, who had been staring at Tang Ao, couldn't help but look back. The grade of the axe was not too high. It was only a grade 1 immortal artifact. Among the celestial artifacts appraised just now, there was even a martial artist who took out a grade 4 celestial artifact to auction. But as Song Dongquan poured his spirit energy into the axe, 5 light patterns immediately appeared on the axe. Senior brother Song actually took out a treasure with 5 stages of spirit refinement. 5 stages of spirit refinement. Even if it's a grade 1 celestial artifact, it's equivalent to a grade 4 celestial artifact. Moreover, it's infinitely close to grade 5. Moreover, because it's a grade 1 celestial artifact, it's very easy for astral reaching realm martial artists to use it. There won't be any situation where they can't control it. Chapter 2384. The reason why he took it out for appraisal was just to show off. When Su Lin saw the axe, his eyes almost popped out. But when he thought that Song Dongquan might not be willing to auction it, he could only sigh helplessly. A grade 1 immortal weapon, the mountain-splitting axe, made from 10,000 years old fine iron. Even among the grade 1 immortal weapons, it is still a top-grade item. The most valuable thing is that it has refined its spirit 5 times. The path of spirit refinement is extremely mysterious. Many treasures would turn into ashes after refining their spirit once, but this mountain-splitting axe has refined its spirit 5 times. It is truly rare. This old man has been appraising treasures in the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce for many years, but this is only the second time I have seen such a treasure. Although he knew that Song Dongquan would most likely not make a move, Su Lin stroked his beard and asked, "Young Master Song, our Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce will trade this item with a mid-grade mysterious yellow pellet and 10 million immortal crystals. How about it?" Hearing Su Lin's words, even if Song Dongquan did not plan to sell it, he was still shocked. 10 million immortal crystals were nothing to Song Dongquan. What he cared about was the mid-grade mysterious yellow pellet. The mysterious yellow pellet only had one function, which was to allow astral-reaching realm martial artists to refine their aptitude. Although martial aptitude was fixed at birth, as one's cultivation increased, the potential within a martial artist's body would continue to be unearthed. However, at the same time, because of the increase in cultivation, one's body would be fixed, and the plasticity would become lower and lower. After reaching the astral reaching realm, even if one's body still had endless potential, it would basically be fixed. In fact, apart from a few martial artists with heaven-defying aptitude, ordinary martial artists would not even be able to unearth half of their potential after reaching the astral reaching realm. It was also because of this situation that an astonishing pill had appeared in the true martial realm. This pill was called the mysterious yellow pellet. The name of the mysterious yellow pellet was very ordinary, but its effect was extremely heaven-defying. Not to mention mid-grade mysterious yellow pellet, even the most ordinary mysterious yellow pellet would set off a bloody storm once it appeared. It would cause countless forces to fight. As long as an astral-reaching realm martial artist could obtain a mysterious yellow pellet, regardless of their aptitude, they would have no problem cultivating to the yin-yang realm. If their aptitude was not bad, they would even have the qualifications to attack the chaotic sky realm. Muddy heaven realm martial artists had truly entered the ranks of the powerhouses. As long as a chaotic heaven realm expert appeared in a martial arts clan, and as long as the chaotic heaven realm expert didn't die, the clan would definitely prosper for a long time. When a man achieves the Tao, he will be blessed by 10,000 generations. When he heard that Su Lin had used the mysterious yellow pill to exchange with him, Song Dongquan's heart wavered. After a long internal struggle, Song Dongquan decided to trade. Song Dongquan's plan was to first exchange for the mysterious yellow elixir, and then wait for the Ruins of Immortality auction to auction the axe before buying it back at a high price. Although he, Song Dongquan, did not have mysterious yellow pills, he, Song Dongquan, did not lack immortal crystals. Thank you, Senior Su. I'm willing to make an exchange with the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality, Song Dongquan said as he handed the axe to Su Lin. When Su Lin heard Song Dongquan's words, he was overjoyed. Although the black-yellow pill was precious, it was not as precious to the Chamber of Immortal Ruins as it was to the outside world. Chapter 2385. Among these three materials, the other two were nothing to the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce. However, the last one, the Primal Chaos Aura, gave the Chamber of Commerce a headache. Primal Chaos Aura only existed when the world was created. Only treasures and materials possessed it. It could be said that the more it was used, the less it would be used. Even if the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce's financial power was frightening and its branches were spread throughout the three great martial realms. However, the Chamber of Commerce didn't have many treasures that contained Primal Chaos Aura. Even so, Su Lin was very satisfied with exchanging a mid-grade black-yellow pellet for an axe with 5 times spirit refinement. Su Lin had already asked the Chamber of Commerce's Elders Guild. After all, the black-yellow pellet was a very special resource. However, the Elders Guild approved of Su Lin's method. Therefore, the transmission array behind Su Lin flickered and a jade bottle appeared. There was only one pellet in the jade bottle. The moment they saw the pellet, the group of Tao-seeking Academy students' breathing quickened, because they were all at the astral-reaching realm. If they could get their hands on this black-yellow pellet, they might even have a chance of reaching the chaotic sky realm. However, this pellet was Song Dongquan's, so no one had the guts to snatch it. Song Dongquan's hands trembled as he received the pellet. Without any hesitation, he swallowed the pellet. He looked very cautious, but no one laughed at him. Everyone felt that no matter who it was, they would take the pellet as soon as they obtained it. After Song Dongquan took the pill, he immediately felt the surging medicinal power in the pill slowly improving his physique. After obtaining the black-yellow pellet, Song Dongquan was in a good mood. Even his previous gloominess was swept away. Although he still wanted to kill Tang Ao, Song Dongquan was no longer as depressed as before. After Song Dongquan, Chen Yaya also stepped forward. Chen Yaya then took out an amber-like blood-colored transparent stone from her storage ring. There seemed to be a soul within this transparent blood-colored stone. This soul was a beast soul that somewhat resembled a tortoise. However, this tortoise had 2 heads. One was a flood dragon head, while the other was a snake head. The Tao-seeking Academy martialists were confused when they saw this item. They had no idea what it was. On the other hand, Tang Ao was overjoyed. The fourth level of the great desolate immortal body required the blood crystal of the four spirit. What Chen Yeye took out was a Xuanwu blood crystal. If he had known earlier that Chen Yeye had such a black tortoise blood crystal, no matter what kind of treasure Tang Ao used, as long as he could take it out, Tang Ao would definitely exchange it with Chen Yeye. Su Lin played with the black tortoise blood crystal in his hand for a long time, then said lightly, "I didn't expect that a little kid like you would have a black tortoise blood crystal. This black tortoise blood crystal has many uses, whether it's refining equipment, alchemy, or other aspects. I'll take it as 5 million immortal crystals." "This stone is so valuable?" Chen Yeye's eyes widened. She had picked up this stone in a secret area of the Tao-seeking Academy. In that secret area, Chen Yeye had seen a huge tortoise that covered the sky. There were many similar stones under the tortoise's body. On a whim, Chen Yeye had picked one up. The tortoise seemed to be asleep. After Chen Yeye took the blood crystal, it didn't react. Chapter 2386. After Chen Yeye, Tang Ao was the only one left in the room who had yet to submit a treasure for auction. Everyone looked at Tang Ao mockingly. In their opinion, this native of the ruins of immortality was asking to be humiliated by following Chen Yeye here. Everyone had heard of the barrenness of the ruins of immortality. How could a cultivator from the ruins of immortality like Tang Ao have anything good on him? "It's your turn. Didn't you want to appraise your treasure? Take out your treasure and let us have a look." "Ha ha ha, don't worry. The Chamber of the Ruins of Immortality has certain requirements for treasures. If your treasure doesn't pass Senior Su's test, I will take it all." At this moment, everyone looked at Tang Ao with disdain in their eyes. Bai Luoyu did not have such thoughts. She only hoped that Tang Ao would tell her what Tang Ao had found on the incense burner. Chen Yeye, who was standing in front of Tang Ao, widened her eyes. She regretted bringing Tang Ao along. She should have given Tang Ao some treasures on the way here. "Hee hee, you want to see my treasure? What's so difficult about that?" Tang Ao had come here to submit an item. Since these people wanted to see it, he would let them have a look. Tang Ao stepped forward and clasped his fists at Su Lin. Then, Tang Ao took out a first-grade elixir. There was only one elixir in the bottle, but Su Lin was shocked when he saw it. A first-grade king-grade violet heart elixir. Su Lin recalled the rumor that there was an alchemist in the ruins of immortality who could refine a first-grade king-grade celestial elixir. Could that first-grade king-grade celestial alchemist be this young man? Song Dongquan and the rest were speechless. The violet heart elixir was nothing to them. They could even get a supreme-grade violet heart elixir if they were willing to pay the price. However, this was the first time many of them had seen a king-grade violet heart elixir. No one had expected that Tang Ao would actually take out such a treasure the moment he made his move. Even so, Song Dongquan still said in a cold voice, "It's enough for a healing pill to have a healing effect. Although this Tier 1 King Tier Purple Heart Pill is rare, its effect is limited. Below the third level of the astral reaching realm, it would be fine, but beyond that, this pellet would not have much effect." Young Master Song is right. However, even so, a Tier 1 King Grade elixir is still very rare. I've been appraising treasures in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins for many years, but this is the first time I've seen a first-grade King Tier Purple Heart Pill. I'll pay 100,000 immortal crystals for this bottle of pills. To Tang Ao, 100,000 immortal crystals was too little, but to the Purple Heart Pill, 100,000 immortal crystals was already a sky-high price. The reason he said this was because the price of a top-grade Purple Heart Pill was only 10,000 immortal crystals per pill, but the king-level purple heart pill that Tang Ao had refined was actually 10 times more expensive than a top-grade purple heart pill. Although this bottle of purple heart pill was only worth 100,000 immortal crystals, this time, Tang Ao put up more than this bottle of purple heart pill for auction. Soon, under the shocked gazes of Song Dongquan and the rest, Tang Ao took out 9 bottles of this kind of first-grade king-tier purple heart pill. Seeing that Tang Ao had taken out so many first-grade king-tier purple heart pills, even Su Lin was moved. However, Su Lin was indeed worthy of being an appraiser of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. He had seen a lot of treasures over the years and had experienced too many situations. Chapter 2387. A top-notch healing elixir like the Purple Heart Pill was in high demand by many forces. If there was only one, it would be difficult for others to pay attention to it. However, when there were so many of them, it was hard not to pay attention to it. After Tang Ao took out 10 bottles of Purple Heart Pills, everyone stopped talking. Many people even wanted to befriend Tang Ao. The fact that Tang Ao could take out 10 bottles of Grade 1 King Grade Purple Heart Pills at once meant that either Tang Ao was a Grade 1 King Grade Immortal Alchemist or Tang Ao had a close relationship with a Grade 1 King Grade Immortal Alchemist. Regardless of the reason, Tang Ao was worth befriending. Seeing the change in everyone's expressions, Tang Ao laughed in his heart. These 10 bottles of Purple Heart Pills were just an appetizer. At that moment, Tang Ao waved his hand and a jade bottle appeared in Tang Ao's hand. There was a ball of purple flame burning in the jade bottle. Because Ziyan often took out this ball of flame to play with, the ball of flame even had a trace of the aura of the fire spirit. After seeing this ball of flame, Su Lin, who was originally sitting, suddenly stood up. The 2 powerful psyches that had been sweeping the surroundings also gathered on the jade bottle in Tang Ao's hand. A Grade 1 Immortal Flame, Netherworld Flame, Su Lin said with a trembling voice. At the same time, Su Lin took a deep look at Tang Ao, then took the jade bottle and slowly opened it. After opening the jade bottle, Su Lin hurriedly sealed it after taking a look. A white-haired old man with a youthful face had appeared in the treasure appraisal room. When Su Lin saw this person, he immediately said respectfully, "Disciple greets master." Everyone from Wendao Academy was stunned. No one expected that the bottle of flame Tang Ao took out would attract a supreme elder of the Immortal Ruin Chamber of Commerce. The white-haired old man nodded slightly at Su Lin and waved his hand. The jade bottle containing the netherworld flame appeared in the white-haired old man's hand. The white-haired old man removed Su Lin's seal, then took out the ball of netherworld flame and observed it carefully. Seeing this white-haired old man, Tang Ao felt a little nervous. Tang Ao could tell that this white-haired old man was at the peak of Yin-Yang Stage Level 9, a half-step chaotic heaven stage existence. This old man also had a medicinal fragrance on his body. Obviously, he was also an alchemist. Among the many immortal flames, the netherworld flame isn't the best. But the first-grade immortal flame, the netherworld flame, had the highest plasticity. Moreover, this netherworld flame even had a trace of the fire spirit's aura. If there were no accidents, there would be a 60% chance that a fire spirit would be born when the immortal flame evolved to a rank 3 or rank 4 immortal flame. I'll give you 30 million low-grade immortal crystals for this item. How about it? Just now, when everyone had put their items up for auction, Su Lin had directly stated his price. But this time, Su Lin's master, the Supreme Elder of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce, had come personally to discuss with Tang Ao. "Thank you, Senior." Tang Ao knew that if he haggled, he would definitely get more. However, Tang Ao would be able to mass-produce a first-grade immortal flame of this level in a short period of time. Therefore, Tang Ao was already very satisfied that he could earn 30 million low-grade immortal crystals from this ball of netherworld flame. This ball of netherworld flame was also the most expensive treasure in this treasure appraisal room so far. Chapter 2388. This time, Tang Ao took out a pill cauldron. When Han Shan's soul remembrance swept over the cauldron, he retracted his foot that was about to step forward. Then, Han Shan turned around and walked to the front of the appraisal table, carefully examining the pill furnace. After examining it for a while, Han Shan realized that this pill furnace should be a new item. However, even so, there was still a faint pill aroma coming from the pill furnace. Clearly, this pill furnace had been used by a very powerful pill master to refine pills before, so there was still a lingering fragrance in the pill furnace. The pill furnace was a third-grade pill furnace, but it had been forged 3 times using the spirit refinement forging method. Compared to a 6th-grade immortal pill furnace, this pill furnace was not much inferior. However, for an astral-reaching realm pill master, this pill furnace was clearly easier to control than a 6th-grade immortal pill furnace. Han Shan looked around the pill furnace twice, then said to Su Lin, "This pill furnace is just right for you. You can bid now." Hearing Han Shan's words, Su Lin's worried heart finally relaxed. Because this pill furnace had been forged 3 times, it was also suitable for Han Shan to use. Moreover, if this pill furnace was bought by the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce, it would most likely have to go to his master. No matter how brave he was, he would not dare to covet his master's things. Hearing Han Shan's words, in order to prevent him from going back on his words, Su Lin said without hesitation, "Brother Tang Ao, how about 10 million low-grade immortal crystals for this pill furnace?" "Thank you, old brother." The fact that this pill furnace could be sold for 10 million low-grade immortal crystals was already out of Tang Ao's expectations. After all, this pill furnace was refined by Tang Ao from South Ruins City when the price of spirit materials and immortal spirit herbs had dropped drastically. In terms of cost, it was not even 1,000 immortal crystals. This time, Tang Ao did not call Su Lin senior, but Su Lin was not angry at all. Instead, he was very satisfied. It was like if Tang Ao called him senior again, he would immediately turn hostile. Although this pill furnace would eventually fall into Su Lin's hands, Su Lin could not directly take out 10 million immortal crystals and give it to Tang Ao. At this moment, the people of the Tao Seeking Academy were already numb. Seeing Tang Ao take out one treasure after another, they could no longer tell if Tang Ao was a native of the Ruins of Immortality or if they were natives of the Ruins of Immortality. However, this was only the beginning and not the end. After the 3-star pill furnace, Tang Ao took out many 1st-grade, 2nd-grade, and even a portion of 3rd-grade pills. It wasn't just pills, there were also immortal artifacts. These immortal artifacts ranged from grade 1 to grade 3. In the end, the pills that Tang Ao took out were worth 80 million low-grade immortal crystals. The celestial artifact that Tang Ao took out was worth 90 million low-grade celestial crystals. The crowd from the Tao Seeking Academy was dazzled by the sight of so many treasures. At this moment, they could only hope that Tang Ao would stop and not take out more treasures to provoke them. At this moment, some people even suspected that Tang Ao was the illegitimate child of some peerless almighty who had been sent to the lower realms to train. That was why he had so many treasures on him. Even Han Shan couldn't help but frown as he looked at the treasures on the appraisal table. This was because Tang Ao's wealth as an astral-reaching realm martial artist was not inferior to that of many yin-yang realm martial artists. Seeing everyone's dumbfounded expressions, Tang Ao pondered for a moment and decided to take out 3 items in the end. "There are even more treasures. Heavens, what did I do wrong to show these to me? Is the gap between people this big?" Chapter 2389. A Sword. At this time, everyone saw the item that Tang Ao had taken out. This was an ordinary shining golden sword. Normally speaking, it was rare for sword-type immortal weapons to be golden. Generally speaking, golden spiritual materials weren't very strong and tough. Therefore, when everyone saw Tang Ao take out this shining golden sword, they were very puzzled. They didn't know what was so special about this sword that Tang Ao had taken out. Han Shan waved his hand and the golden sword on the appraisal platform landed in his hand. Han Shan suddenly swung the golden sword. Everyone was shocked to see that a huge crack appeared in the space in front of them. Even the pitch-black void was revealed. But as the sword energy dissipated, the surrounding space also began to slowly heal, finally returning to its original state. But Han Shan's sword just now was imprinted in everyone's hearts. Many martial artists who used swords as weapons stared at this sword with fiery eyes. But after Han Shan swung the sword, he didn't move again. He just held the sword and frowned in thought. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a crack suddenly appeared between Han Shan's eyebrows. Immediately, everyone saw that there was a vertical pupil between Han Shan's eyebrows. After using the vertical pupil to observe for a moment, Han Shan laughed loudly and said, "Wonderful, wonderful! This sword was actually forged with pure gold sand as the main material." Pure gold sand? Impossible! Shouldn't a weapon forged with pure gold sand have a burning aura and be completely pure gold? After Han Shan finished speaking, everyone whispered to each other. But Han Shan didn't care at all. Instead, he said rather proudly, "Normally, an immortal weapon forged with pure gold sand would indeed be completely pure gold and surrounded by a burning aura. But during the forging process of this golden sword, we used the ice purification technique to completely harmonize the hot aura of the pure gold sand, making it even more tough and strong. At the same time, because it used the ice purification technique, what we see is a golden sword and not a pure gold sword." Han Shan, when did you secretly learn artifact forging? While Han Shan was speaking with fervor and assurance, an old man wearing a black robe had arrived at some point in time. This old man wore a black robe, but his hair was scarlet red. After the old man arrived, everyone even felt that the temperature in the appraisal room had risen a little. As the old man approached, the people closest to the old man even felt the celestial spiritual energy in their bodies burning. Martial Uncle Yen Xiao. Su Lin felt helpless in his heart. He was only here to appraise treasures. As a result, his master and martial uncle, whom he usually didn't get to see, were all attracted here. Yen Xiao nodded, then took the golden sword and began to examine it. After watching for a while, Yen Xiao also laughed a few times. "This sword is interesting. I wonder how much pure gold sand this blacksmith wasted in order to forge this sword," Yen Xiao said indifferently as he examined the golden sword. Hearing Yen Xiao's words, Tang Ao secretly sighed in his heart. This old man indeed had some skills. Because in order to forge this golden sword, Tang Ao had used a total of 1,500 kilograms of pure gold sand to forge 2 swords. He had also used the leftover materials to forge a long spear and a large saber. Chapter 2390. Perhaps it was because he had used the ice washing technique, but the material had a transparent azure color. Tang Ao had used this material to refine the only grade 4 spiritual weapon. After that, Tang Ao had refined it 5 more times using the spiritual refinement technique. Therefore, the power of this sword was no weaker than a grade 9 immortal weapon. On this day, the people from the Tao-Seeking Academy walked out of the treasure appraisal room of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. When they returned to the VIP room, they still felt dizzy. The golden sword that Tang Ao had taken out was priced at a whopping 100 million low-grade immortal crystals by Yen Xiao. This price made people think of the scene of immortal crystals piling up like a mountain. After the golden sword, Tang Ao had also taken out a golden saber and a golden spear. The golden saber was priced at 80 million immortal crystals, while the golden spear was priced at 70 million immortal crystals. However, this was only the lowest price. In other words, as long as Tang Ao's treasures didn't go unauctioned, they might even fetch a higher price. Although the ruins of Immortal was quite far from the Langya realm, the news of the ruins of Immortal auction still reached the various forces of the Langya realm through various channels. How could anyone sit still after the ruins of Immortal auction with so many good items? Under the pressure of various forces, the void warship from the Langya realm to the ruins of Immortal, which was supposed to take place once every 1,000 years, had to leave for the ruins of Immortal ahead of schedule. The ruins of Immortal auction, which was supposed to be held the next day, was also delayed by a month. During this month, martialists from the Langya realm weren't the only ones who came over. Experts from the surrounding ruins of Immortal had also crossed the void realm to come over. To a large extent, the purpose of these people's visit was the last 3 items that Tang Ao had. Tang Ao wasn't the only person who knew that the pure gold sand could be refined using the ice washing technique. In fact, Tang Ao wasn't the first person to succeed. Before Tang Ao, there was already an armament refiner who did this. Many blacksmiths had even tried, but no matter how skilled they were, they realized that the success rate of using the ice washing technique to purify the pure gold sand was too low. Furthermore, if the cold air lingered on the pure gold sand, it could easily cause the pure gold sand to explode after the cold air corroded it. Therefore, although some blacksmiths had successfully refined such immortal weapons in the past 10,000 years, they had mostly used daggers and flying sabers. The reason was that it was too difficult to use the ice washing technique to purify the pure gold sand. It was basically impossible to obtain a large amount of pure gold sand. However, the appearance of the 3 immortal weapons made from the pure gold sand had caused an uproar in the eastern region of the entire Langya realm. Among the people who boarded the Starry Sky battleship heading to the ruins of immortality, there were craftsmen who were rarely seen. But now there were a lot of them. Clearly, everyone wanted to see for themselves if there was really someone who used the ice purification technique to obtain a large amount of purified pure gold sand. After a month of preparation, the scale of the ruins of immortality auction was upgraded again. Many treasures were delivered from the Langya realm, and the ruins of immortality auction, which was originally scheduled to be held in the Great Desolation City of the Langya realm's eastern region, was also included in this auction. The great families of the world in the great continent Big Families in had long Emperor of the Dragons. Chapter 2391. The second and third floors were originally private rooms, but at this moment, the private rooms had been completely dismantled and replaced with comfortable soft chairs. At the moment, there were only a few Yin-Yang realm martial artists from the ruins of immortality sitting on the second floor. The rest of the people were all from the east domain of the Langya realm. To be more precise, they were in the Great Desolate City in the eastern region of Langya realm. The weakest of these people were Life and Death realm martial artists who had come to watch the show with their elders, and the strongest were even half-step Chaotic Heaven realm martial artists. On the third floor were the upper echelons of the ruins of immortality auction, as well as the instructors of the Langya realm's Dao Seeking Academy and the Cyanwood Academy. As for the students from the Dao Seeking Academy and the Greenwood Academy, they were also seated on the second floor. Although Tang Ao was a martialist from the ruins of immortality, Tang Ao was allowed to sit on the third floor because Tang Ao had the black gold identity jade token of the Chamber of Commerce. The third floor of the Immortal Ruins auction was basically filled with half-step Chaotic Sky realm old monsters. Tang Ao sat there with his astral-reaching realm cultivation base, but he didn't feel any pressure. This was because Tang Ao saw that the surrounding Chaotic Heaven stage old monsters had set up restrictions to isolate themselves from the outside world and were chatting with each other. Tang Ao also wanted to set up a restriction, but Tang Ao knew that if he wanted to isolate himself from the probing of these old monsters, he would have to expose his true strength in the Array Dao. As for those who didn't want to expose their Formation Dao abilities, the restrictions they put on couldn't even think of isolating them from their soul remembrance probing. Therefore, Tang Ao just sat there calmly, waiting for the auction to begin. There were 7 grades of identity jade plates in the Ruins of Immortality auction. They were bronze, silver, gold, black gold, purple diamond, and supreme. With different identity jade tokens, one could receive different treatment in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Right now, Tang Ao was merely at the 3rd level of Astral Reaching Realm. However, because Tang Ao had the black gold rank jade tag, Tang Ao was able to sit on the 3rd level. However, the black gold identity jade token was only ranked 3rd in the identity jade token system of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Above the black gold identity jade token were the diamond identity jade token and the sovereign identity jade token. However, the Chamber of Immortal Ruins only had a limited number of identity jade cards of these 2 grades. The Supreme Identity Jade token would be used against experts at the Dao Master level. The Diamond and Black Gold Identity Jade plates were for celestial turbid stage powerhouses and big clients of the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality. Of course, Tang Ao's cultivation base was not high enough, but the treasures Tang Ao had auctioned off had already been listed as a major client of the Chamber of Commerce in the Immortal Ruins. Of course, Tang Ao did not have the qualifications to obtain a black gold rank identity jade token. Other than the treasures that Tang Ao had put up for auction, Tang Ao had also revealed his strength as a Tier 3 Pill Master in front of Yen Xiao and Han Shan. Rather than a display of strength, it would be more accurate to say that it was a display of potential. After Tang Ao had revealed his potential, Yen Xiao and Han Shan had decided to establish a long-term cooperative relationship with Tang Ao after careful consideration. The easiest way to establish a long-term cooperative relationship was to let Tang Ao see that he could get enough benefits from the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Therefore, the two directly asked the headquarters for a black gold rank identity jade token and gave it to Tang Ao. They also told Tang Ao that if the relationship between Tang Ao and the Chamber of Commerce reached a certain level, Tang Ao's black gold identity jade token would be replaced with a purple diamond identity jade token. Then, after Tang Ao went to the Langya realm, the Chamber of Commerce could even provide shelter and the greatest convenience for Tang Ao. Tang Ao could not enjoy these benefits for the time being, but in the near future, when Tang Ao went to the Langya realm, he would immediately be able to experience these benefits. After all, there were countless warriors in the vast Langya realm. However, there were no more than 1,000 warriors who had a black gold rank identity jade token in the Chamber of Commerce. 1,000 people sounded like a lot, but if the Ruins of Immortality were to be placed in the Langya realm, there would be one warrior who had a black gold rank identity jade token in the Chamber of Commerce. It was not hard to imagine how rare a black gold rank identity jade token was in the Chamber of Commerce, and how noble such an identity was. Therefore, even the few half-step Sky Realm martial artists could only sit on the second floor of the Immortal Ruin auction. However, Tang Ao, with his cultivation base of third-level Astral Reaching Realm, was able to sit on the third floor. Because Tang Ao did not use any arrays to hide himself, everyone in the Immortal Ruins auction could see Tang Ao's figure. After seeing Tang Ao, Jin Chen and Su Shiro, who were on the first floor, as well as the warriors who had bought pills from the September Elixir Pavilion, were very excited. It was as if the person sitting on the third floor was not Tang Ao, but them. As for the people from the Dao Seeking Academy, they had witnessed the whole process of Tang Ao taking out all kinds of treasures. They had no doubt that Tang Ao could sit on the third floor. However, none of them knew that after they left, Tang Ao had revealed his rank 3 Immortal Alchemy Master ability in front of Han Shan and Yen Xiao. A rank 3 immortal alchemy master within 1,000 years was a genius with unlimited potential, even in the Langya realm or even the Myriad Wood realm where the Yao clan was located. Moreover, Tang Ao had not joined any forces yet. Therefore, the Chamber of Commerce was also trying its best to invite Tang Ao to join. Chapter 2392. As long as Tang Ao maintained a favorable impression of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, Tang Ao might still be able to join the chamber in the future. Even if Tang Ao did not join the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, maintaining a close relationship with the Chamber of Immortal Ruins would still be a very good thing. As for using force to force Tang Ao to join the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, that was almost impossible. The Chamber of Immortal Ruins cherished talents, but it would not force others to join. The Chamber of Immortal Ruins wanted to attract talents, not force them to join. As time passed, more and more people arrived at the auction of the Immortal Ruins. Usually, the ruins of Immortal Ruins had the highest number of martialists at such an auction. However, the number of martialists from other realms was now comparable to the number of martialists from the ruins of Immortal Ruins. Some of them came from the surrounding ruins of Immortal, while others came from the great wilderness city in the eastern region of the Langya realm. There were also some martialists with a pair of pointy ears and extraordinarily handsome look. They did not seem to be from the human tribe, but there were very few of them and they were all protected by top-notch experts. The first level of the auction was packed, and the second level was also completely filled. Only the third level, where Tang Ao was still empty. There were no more than 20 people on the third level. However, apart from Tang Ao, these people all had very powerful auras. There were as many as 5 half-step chaotic sky realm experts. At the moment, there was a distorted transparent light in front of these experts on the third level. Through the light screen, one could see the figures inside, but their faces could not be seen clearly. It was impossible to know what the people inside were doing. These were isolation arrays. If Tang Ao wanted to, Tang Ao could also set them up. However, Tang Ao had already exposed his alchemy abilities. If he exposed his array formation abilities as well, he would be courting death. Although Grade 3 immortal alchemy masters within 1,000 years of age were rare, they did exist. However, a Grade 3 immortal alchemy master within 1,000 years of age and a Grade 4 immortal array master was somewhat shocking. In this way, even if others didn't want to look for Tang Ao, they wouldn't be able to. Thus, Tang Ao was extremely conspicuous on the third floor. Other experts might not be able to see him clearly, but when they looked at Tang Ao they could see him clearly. Bai Luoyu and the rest of the Tao Seeking Academy were seated on the second level. Looking at Tang Ao on the third level, Bai Luoyu felt some regret in his heart. Because Tang Ao had stayed in the ruins of immortality for the past month, even Bai Luoyu had been unable to find Tang Ao. Although Bai Luoyu hadn't been able to find Tang Ao, he had investigated Tang Ao in South Ruin City. After some investigation, Bai Luoyu found out that Tang Ao was a straightforward martial artist. She had been too impatient that day, coupled with the fact that she came from the Langya world, when she met Tang Ao. Although she did not look at him with disdain like Song Dongkuan and the others, she still felt a sense of superiority in front of Tang Ao. Furthermore, that incense burner was her father's only relic. She really wanted to know what secrets her father had left behind, and where he had gone. It was also because of this that she acted rashly. Chapter 2393. Just like Chen Yeye, Song Dongkuan was an outer court disciple of the Tao Seeking Academy. Song Dongkuan was born in the Song clan, an ancient cultivation family, and his elder brother, Song Dongqian, was a genius of the Tao Seeking Academy's inner court. Therefore, Song Dongkuan was an existence that almost no one in the outer court dared to offend. Chen Yeye and Song Dongkuan didn't get along, so she was very happy to see Song Dongkuan unhappy. Clang! At this moment, a crisp sound of a bell reverberated throughout the ruins of Immortality Auction. The chaotic auction hall immediately quietened down upon hearing the sound of the bell. A moment later, everyone saw a woman in a fiery red dress walk out from the high platform of the Immortal Ruins auction. The woman was unusually seductive. She wore a fiery red dress that accentuated her curves to an astonishing degree. However, her waist was so slender that it couldn't be hugged. She looked extremely flirtatious with every frown. A woman like her would attract countless gazes no matter where she went. As the woman appeared, the temperature in the auction hall seemed to rise by a few degrees. This is the branch president of the Immortal Ruins auction, Luo Hongying. Upon seeing the woman, Tang Ao immediately recalled that there was such a person in the upper echelons of the Immortal Ruins auction that Su Lin had introduced him to. There were nearly 160 branches in the Immortal Ruins auction. The branch presidents of these branches were in charge of the operations of the Immortal Ruins auction in one or several regions. Luo Hongying was mainly in charge of the operations of the Immortal Ruins auction and the Great Wilderness City and the surrounding cities in the Langya realm. Tang Ao knew that in the past, Luo Hongying would personally host the auction in the Immortal Ruins auction. Therefore, Tang Ao wasn't very surprised to see Luo Hongying. As Tang Ao looked at Luo Hongying, Tang Ao suddenly realized that Luo Hongying was glancing at him, intentionally or unintentionally. That seductive glance made Tang Ao's heart skip a beat. Tang Ao was secretly shocked. Although Tang Ao also liked beauties, he definitely didn't like them to this extent. Tang Ao quickly realized that Luo Hongying was born with a seductive body and cultivated a very special cultivation technique that could, to a certain extent, capture a cultivator's thoughts. Thinking of this, Tang Ao secretly raised his guard. Beautiful women were already very difficult to deal with. Tang Ao was absolutely unwilling to provoke a woman who was beautiful, smart, and had some tricks up her sleeves. Luo Hongying's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise when she saw that Tang Ao was only stunned for a moment before immediately coming to his senses. Tang Ao's guess was correct. Just now, Luo Hongying had used 30% of her charm technique on Tang Ao. Although Tang Ao didn't seem to have much experience, he didn't expect Tang Ao to be able to wake up in a breath's time under such circumstances. It could be seen that Tang Ao was very vigilant even though he was in a very safe place like the auction of the ruins of immortality. The more Tang Ao behaved this way, the more Luo Hongying found it interesting. Luo Hongying wanted to see how vigilant Tang Ao could be. After Luo Hongying appeared, many people's breathing quickened. They looked at Luo Hongying as if they wanted to swallow her whole. Ha ha ha! Did you guys come to the auction of the ruins of immortality to bid for me? Luo Hongying held a wine cup in her hand. After taking a sip, she smiled coquettishly. Chapter 2394. With that little business of yours, how much can 30% be worth? I'll pay 50%. This time, the speaker was a pale-faced youngster. Although he only had the cultivation base of astral reaching realm, he was also accompanied by a half-step chaotic sky realm expert. This youngster's identity was clearly not simple. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect young Master Hua to also be captivated by Lady Luo. Since young Master Hua is interested, how could this old man dare to compete? Seeing that this half-step chaotic sky realm expert seemed to be admitting defeat, the surrounding people curiously looked at the pale-faced youth. Tang Ao took a glance and found it interesting. This pale-faced youth wasn't drunk, but seriously injured. Even at this moment, this youth still drank a few mouthfuls of spirit tea from time to time. This spirit tea clearly contained some special ingredients that could suppress his internal injuries. If not for this spirit tea, this youth's injuries would have already broken out. At the same time, Tang Ao also saw through this youth's cultivation. After seeing through this youth's cultivation, Tang Ao's eyes were filled with shock. This was because this pale-faced youth wasn't at the astral reaching realm, but a half-step chaotic sky realm expert. It was just that his current injuries were too severe, so there was a flaw in his concealment method. Therefore, Tang Ao was able to see through his cultivation. Alright, let's end the small talk here. After another chuckle, Luo Hongying put down the wine cup in her hand and said, "Most of my friends should know who I am, but I'd still like to introduce myself to new friends. My name is Luo Hongying, and I'm the person in charge of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce in the Immortal Ruins. Our Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce started out in the Immortal Ruins. Therefore, it's my honor to be able to establish a branch here. Due to the fact that a lot of good things have appeared in the Immortal Ruins and the great competition of the Immortal Ruins that happens once every 100 years, I've decided to combine the Immortal Ruins auction that was originally going to be held in Great Desolate City with this one. I hope that everyone can bring back a treasure that they're satisfied with." After saying that, Luo Hongying's expression changed and she continued to say, "Without further ado, let's take out the first item for today's auction, the first-grade King Purple Heart Pill." As soon as Luo Hongying's voice fell, two beautiful maids carried a jade plate over. There was a restriction on the jade plate, so it was impossible to see what was on the jade plate. Although Luo Hongying had said that it was a first-grade King-tier Purple Heart Pill, this level of Purple Heart Pill was rare, but it was still divided into different levels. Some alchemists could refine first-grade King-grade Purple Heart Pills, and when they reached the pinnacle, they could save one person with one pill. And the King-grade Purple Heart Pill that some alchemists refined only barely reached the level of a Tier 1 King-grade medicinal pill. As a result, no one knew what level the Purple Heart Pill was at. However, as Luo Hongying waved her lily-white hand, the restriction on the jade plate immediately dissipated. The moment the restriction dissipated, countless soul psyches instantly shrouded the jade plate from all directions. While everyone was observing the medicinal pills on the jade plate, Luo Hongying said slowly, "This isn't the first time a first-grade King-grade Purple Heart Pill is being auctioned in the Immortal Ruins auction. Among the first-grade King-grade Purple Heart Pills that I've handled, these 10 medicinal pills rank at least in the top 3. Chapter 2395. 800,000. Wei Xiaozi indifferently opened his mouth, almost at the same time Luo Hongying's voice faded. Wei Xiaozi was a half-step chaotic heaven realm cultivator, so these Tier 1 immortal pills wouldn't be of much use to him. However, Wei Xiaozi wasn't bidding for this set of Purple Heart Pills for himself. These 10 pills were concocted by Tang Ao himself. When he saw that his pills could be auctioned off at a high price of 800,000 immortal crystals, Tang Ao felt extremely excited. According to Tang Ao's Immortal Ruin Chamber of Commerce's base price, these King-grade Purple Heart Pills were only 100,000 immortal crystals each. But now they had instantly reached 160,000. This set of Purple Heart Pills is not bad. The key is that there are a lot of them. It's worth a try. On the other side of the auction's second floor, a middle-aged man with a goatee whispered a few words and said, 810,000 immortal crystals. After this man made his bid, Wei Xiaozi coldly glanced at the middle-aged martial artist. A moment later, Wei Xiaozi sneered, "I don't want it anymore." Wei Xiaozi's words stunned everyone. From his words just now and his action of raising the price by 200,000 immortal crystals, no matter how one looked at it, this Wei Xiaozi wasn't someone who would give up easily. Why did Wei Xiaozi directly give up after one bid when the auction had just started? Others didn't know the reason, but the middle-aged martial artist who bid for this set of Purple Heart Pills knew. On the third floor of the Immortal Ruin auction, Tang Ao inwardly sighed at Wei Xiaozi's power. There were only 2 sets of Purple Heart Pills. For the first set, Wei Xiaozi raised the price by 200,000 immortal crystals, showing his determination to buy it. And after Wei Xiaozi raised the price by 200,000 immortal crystals, there was still someone bidding, which meant that this person was also very eager for these purple heart pills. Since this was the case, Wei Xiaozi immediately gave up and prepared to bid for the second set. At this moment, there were many people in the auction hall, but not many could see through Wei Xiaozi's thoughts. There were also some who could see through Wei Xiaozi's thoughts, but they didn't dare to gamble. They didn't know what Wei Xiaozi's attitude towards the second set was. Was he determined to get it, or did he have other thoughts? The purple heart pellet had the best healing effect among the first-rank immortal pellet. However, the purple heart pellet was only effective for warriors below the third level of astral reaching realm. After reaching the third level of the astral reaching realm, although the purple heart pellet would still work, it would not be that effective anymore. The purpose of these people bidding for the purple heart pill was not for their own use, but to resell it and earn the difference in price. Some of them were bought for the younger generation. But no matter what the reason was, the purple heart pill, as the first auction item, was still very successful. After this group of purple heart pills was fought over, it was bought by a middle-aged martial artist who was on his second winter vacation. Of course, the price was no longer 800,000 low-grade immortal crystals, but 1.2 million low-grade immortal crystals. Moreover, looking at his posture, even if someone else were to raise the price, he would still be able to compete. However, the effects of the purple heart pill were limited. Not many cultivators who came to participate in the ruins of immortality were interested in the purple heart pill. Chapter 2396. 1 million low-grade immortal crystals. Just when everyone thought that Wei Xiaozi was going to give up, he took a sip of spiritual tea and opened his mouth. Wei Xiaozi didn't bid for the first set of purple heart pills not because he couldn't afford it, but because he owed the man with the goatee a favor. Since the man had spoken, Wei Xiaozi naturally wouldn't compete. The price of the second set of purple heart pills was only 700,000 before Wei Xiaozi bid. Wei Xiaozi raised the price by 300,000 immortal crystals, so naturally, no one continued to bid. These people's bids were very casual, but the martial artists of the ruins of immortality were shocked. Usually, it was difficult to get hundreds of thousands of immortal crystals, but these people's bids were increasing by tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. It was as if the precious immortal crystals were just stones in their eyes. If the following items were all like this, then the ruins of immortality auction would have nothing to do with the martial artists of the ruins of immortality. Fortunately, the first item of the auction was an above-average item in this auction. After the first item was auctioned, the following treasures also became normal. The second item is 100 seeds of spirit congealing grass. There are a lot of spirit congealing grass in the Langya realm. However, there are no spirit congealing grass in the ruins of immortality. There are 3 ways to use spirit congealing grass. The first is to use it to make tea, the second is to use it to refine spirit congealing incense, and the third is to refine spirit congealing pills. These 3 ways are used to calm one's mind and enhance one's perception. The effects of these 3 ways are also increasing in sequence. Since the Chamber of Immortality had taken out the 100 seeds of spirit congealing grass, Luo Hongying's introduction was more detailed. However, Luo Hongying was right. There were no spirit congealing grass in the ruins of immortality, but there were many in the Langya realm. Some martial arts families even had people responsible for growing spirit congealing grass. Therefore, many people lost interest when they saw that the second item was spirit congealing grass. However, Tang Ao was somewhat interested in the spirit congealing grass. This was because there was no spirit congealing grass in Tang Ao's first herb garden. Of these 100 seeds, Tang Ao still wanted to bid for a portion. These 100 spirit congealing grass seeds will be divided into 10 groups and auctioned in 10 groups. 2 sets at a time and 5 sets at a time. The seed of the spirit congealing grass was priced at 1,000 immortal crystals, and a stack was priced at 10,000 immortal crystals. You can use the contribution points from the ruins of immortality to make up for it. 10,000 contribution points is equivalent to 1,000 immortal crystals. The warriors of the Langya realm had no interest in the spirit congealing grass, but many of the warriors of the immortal ruins wanted it. However, when he heard that a stack of spirit congealing grass would cost 10,000 immortal crystals and that the spirit congealing grass would be auctioned in 2 stacks, it meant that he would not even be qualified to bid if he was short of 20,000 immortal crystals. However, what delighted the cultivators of the ruins of immortality was that the spirit condensing grass could be auctioned using contribution points. In the ruins of immortality, the least valuable thing was immortal crystals, and the least valuable thing was contribution points. 20,000 immortal crystals were equivalent to about 200,000 contribution points here. To an ordinary martial artist, 200,000 contribution points was not a small amount. However, for those cultivation families that had been rooted in the ruins of immortality for several generations, 200,000 contribution points was like a drop in the ocean. 200,000 contribution points. A cultivator immediately called out after Luo Hongying's words. 210,000 contribution points. Before the previous martial artist could finish his bid, someone else immediately made a bid. Chapter 2397. Many people fell silent after seeing Jin Wanchuan's bid. Contribution points were what the martial practitioners of the ruins of immortality lacked the least, but the answer was naturally Jin Wanchuan of the Myriad Treasure Tower. The Myriad Treasure Tower was the property of the 9th generation of the Jin family. Jin Wanchuan had entered the Langya realm before, but for some unknown reason, he returned from the Langya realm and took over the Myriad Treasure Tower. 500,000 contribution points going once. Anyone else? Luo Hongying smiled as she looked around and asked in a friendly manner. 500,000 contribution points going twice. Is no one interested in the first set of spirit congealing grass seeds? Although there are still 8 more sets, it's hard to say what will happen if we add more, Luo Hongying continued when she saw that the crowd was indifferent. 60,000 immortal crystals. This time, the voice came from the 2nd floor. The crowd looked over and saw that the person who made the bid was the city lord of the North Ruined City, Beigong Zhu. Moreover, Beigong Zhu used immortal crystals instead of contribution points. 1,000,000 contribution points. Jin Wanchuan didn't budge. Based on his foresight and intuition, he knew that he had to get this set of spirit congealing grass seed. If there was a lower price later on, he would continue to sell it. If the rest were all high prices, he would make a profit. Actually, Beigong Zhu didn't really want this set of spirit congealing grass. The reason why he made the bid was to give it a try. What Beigong Zhu didn't expect was that Jin Wanchuan would increase the bid by 40,000 immortal crystals. Although Beigong Zhu had a lot of immortal crystals, he couldn't spend them casually. Thinking of this, Beigong Zhu shook his head and stopped bidding. Beigong Zhu didn't want to guess the thoughts of a businessman like Jin Wanchuan, nor could he. Since that was the case, he just had to fight for the remaining 4 sets of spirit congealing grass seed. Beigong Zhu didn't believe that Jin Wanchuan could take all 5 sets of spirit congealing grass seeds by himself. In the end, Jin Wanchuan still won this set of spirit congealing grass seeds with 1,000,000 contribution points. After the first set of spirit congealing grass seeds was auctioned, the price of the second set continued to rise. In the end, when the price rose to 3,000,000 contribution points, everyone was shocked. Even Tang Ao did not expect that the first group of spirit-congealing grass seeds did not have many people competing for it, but the second group of spirit-congealing grass seeds actually had such a degree of competition. Beigong Ju was secretly impressed by Jin Wanchuan's foresight when he saw how intense the competition for the second group of spirit concentration grass seeds was. At this moment, Beigong Ju understood why Jin Wanchuan kept raising the price for the first batch of spirit-congealing grass seeds. In the end, the bidding grew more and more intense until it was won by an expert from the North Ruins City after 5 million contribution points. 5 million contribution points was not a small number. Even if it was exchanged for immortal crystals, it would be 500,000 immortal crystals. Moreover, as long as the martial artists in the Ruins of Immortality had 10 million contribution points, they would be qualified to leave the Ruins of Immortality and head to the Langya realm. Although the competition for the third group wasn't as intense as that for the second group, it still rose to 3 million contribution points in a short time. In the end, it was sold for 3 million contribution points. When it came to the fourth group, many people were worried that the price of the fifth group would be even higher, so they all started to bid. In the end, the seeds of the fourth group of spirit-congealing grass were also sold at a high price. Chapter 2398. In the end, the fifth seed was won by Jin Wanchuan for 1.8 million contribution points. Many people were speechless when they saw this. Jin Wanchuan had won 2 out of the 5 sets of spirit-congealing grass seed. However, the total contribution points he had spent to bid for 2 sets of spirit-congealing grass seeds was less than what others had spent to bid for 1 set of seed. Originally, Tang Ao had wanted to bid for the last set of spirit-congealing grass seed. However, after seeing Jin Wanchuan bid, Tang Ao did not continue bidding. The auction item this time is a tortoise shell. Even the appraisers of our Chamber of Immortal Ruins don't know what this tortoise shell is. However, we can speculate that this tortoise shell is related to the spiritual refinement technique. If any of you are a blacksmith friend, why don't you buy this tortoise shell and study it when you return? Tang Ao was immediately tempted when he heard that it was related to the spiritual refinement technique. However, it only lasted for a moment before Tang Ao's heart sank. Even in the Langya realm, the spiritual refinement technique wasn't something that could be found everywhere. Among 1,000 weapon refiners, it was already very good if there was almost one person who could grasp the spirit refinement technique. Even if the Chamber of Immortal Ruins were to auction such an item, it wouldn't be placed here. It should have been brought to a larger auction in the Langya realm. Therefore, this tortoise shell was clearly a trap. Moreover, Tang Ao had a vague feeling that this was a trap for him. However, Tang Ao couldn't understand why the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, which seemed to have a good relationship with him, would want to set him up now. At this moment, Tang Ao also felt 2 obscure soul remembrance entangling him. One of the 2 psyches belonged to an old man sitting not far from Tang Ao. Although this person had used an array to conceal the surrounding space, Tang Ao could pass through a mere grade 3 immortal array without leaving a trace. The old man also had a blazing flame aura on his body, and there was even a huge crafting furnace pattern on his clothes. Many people didn't know where the immortal weapons that appeared this time came from, but this old man knew that they were put up for auction by Tang Ao. Therefore, this old man suspected that Tang Ao was not only an alchemist, but also a very powerful weapon refiner. In fact, Tang Ao's refining methods were not the slightest bit inferior to his alchemy skills. Another strand of soul remembrance shrouded the backstage of the auction. This soul remembrance even gave Tang Ao an oppressive feeling. If Tang Ao guessed correctly, the owner of this soul remembrance was likely a true Turbid Heaven stage martial artist, not a half-step Turbid Heaven stage. However, after these 2 soul remembrance observed for a while, they slowly retracted. The two of them seemed to be somewhat disappointed, because when Tang Ao saw the tortoiseshell, he was actually indifferent. Based on the immortal weapons that Tang Ao had put up for auction, the two of them knew that those immortal weapons had been refined not long ago. Moreover, the weapon refiner who had refined those immortal weapons clearly had some special techniques that allowed him to achieve such a high success rate when using the spiritual refinement technique. Either this weapon refiner had some precious treasure on him, or he had mastered some unknown secret technique. Regardless of which one it was very interesting. However, Tang Ao's expression was too calm, as if Tang Ao had no interest in refining weapons at all. This made the two old men somewhat uncertain whether Tang Ao knew how to refine weapons. To be honest, after the two of them found out that Tang Ao was a grade 3 alchemy master, they didn't think that Tang Ao was also a weapon refiner. This was because both refining pills and refining weapons required a large amount of time and money to accumulate. The ruins of immortality were already lacking in resources. Under such circumstances, it was already very difficult for Tang Ao to become a grade 3 alchemy master. It was somewhat impossible for him to become a grade 4 alchemy master at the same time as a grade 3 alchemy master. Although there were quite a number of weapon refiners in the ruins of immortality, there were still some. However, this tortoise shell clearly didn't belong to them. Anything related to the spiritual refinement technique was considered a good item. The spiritual refinement technique was one of the techniques in refining weapons, but it was also the most mysterious technique in refining weapons. Many weapon refiners could only become grade 3 or grade 4 immortal weapon refiners in their lifetime. However, if one mastered the spiritual refinement technique, they could even refine immortal weapons that were comparable to grade 5, grade 6, or even stronger. After an intense fight, the tortoise shell ended up in Song Dongquan's hands. Although Song Dongquan had obtained the tortoise shell, he was staring at Chen Yeye with gritted teeth. This was because Chen Yeye had been raising the price with Song Dongquan while he was bidding for the tortoise shell. Of course, Song Dongquan knew that Chen Yeye was deliberately raising the price. In fact, Chen Yeye didn't even want the tortoise shell. However, Song Dongquan didn't dare to give up because he knew that even if he gave up, Chen Yeye would most likely buy the tortoise shell back. Others might not know what the tortoise shell was, but Song Dongquan did. Chapter 2399. What Song Dongquan didn't expect was that when he saw the tortoise shell, Chen Yeye was also there. Therefore, Song Dongquan spent 3 million immortal crystals to get the tortoise shell, which started at 100,000 immortal crystals. After taking out 3 million immortal crystals, Song Dongquan almost vomited blood. For Song Dongquan, 3 million low-grade immortal crystals was nothing. What made Song Dongquan depressed was that because of Chen Yeye's mischief, he had spent so much money in vain. Song Dongquan could even imagine that in this auction, as long as there was something he wanted, Chen Yeye would definitely interfere. After the tortoise shell, many other items were auctioned, but until now, Tang Ao hadn't made a move. Finally, under everyone's anticipation, a jade box was carried up. Inside the jade box was a jade bottle, and inside the jade bottle was a ball of dark purple flame that was slowly burning. This ball of flame was naturally the netherworld flame that Tang Ao had put up for auction. Originally, this ball of netherworld flame was going to be taken away by Han Shan. But this time, Luo Hongying had come from Langyu World and brought a better type of flame. Therefore, after giving that flame to Han Shan, the netherworld flame that Tang Ao had put up for auction was released for auction. What kind of flame is this? Seeing the flame quietly burning in the jade bottle, a martial artist immediately asked. Looking at its color and aura, it seems to be the netherworld flame. Moreover, this flame also has a mysterious feeling, but I can't remember what it is. This is the aura of a fire spirit. This ball of netherworld flame is either about to give birth to a fire spirit, or it has been in contact with a fire spirit for a long time. Most of the people who came here had some skills. Very quickly, the information about the netherworld flame was explained. At this time, Luo Hongying also opened her mouth to introduce. Friends are right, this is a first-grade immortal flame, the netherworld flame. There are countless heavenly flames in true martial domain, but there are only a few dozen that can advance. This netherworld flame is a flame with unlimited potential. Moreover, some friends have already noticed that this netherworld flame is contaminated with the aura of a fire spirit. Regardless of where the aura of a fire spirit came from, this netherworld flame has a very high chance of giving birth to a fire spirit in the future. Without further ado, the starting price of this netherworld flame was 30 million immortal crystals, and each increment must not be lower than 100,000 immortal crystals. I believe that many friends have come for the netherworld flame, but there is only one ball of netherworld flame. If everyone wants it, then quickly make your move. What Luo Hongying said was right. A portion of the warriors that came here this time were really here for the netherworld flame. When the netherworld flame appeared, these people thought about it for a moment before starting to bid. 30 million celestial crystals was not a small number, but this kind of flame that could be upgraded and could even evolve into the immortal nether flame was worth this price. 31 million immortal crystals. During the auction of the nether flame, everyone in the ruins of immortality was reduced to spectators. In the ruins of immortality, where resources were scarce, not many people could afford 30 million immortal crystals. Even though the few elders of the ruins of Immortal Elders Council could take out so many immortal crystals, none of them dared to do so, because the celestial crystals in their hands had come from shady sources. 40 million immortal crystals. This Zhao wants this netherworld flame. I hope that everyone can give this Zhao some face. An old voice rang out from a restriction formation on the third floor. Along with this voice was the powerful aura of a half-step chaotic heavenly stage powerhouse. Chapter 2400. Bai Luoyu had been disinterested ever since he arrived at the Ruins of Immortality auction. This was the first time Bai Luoyu had made a bid. When the old man on the third floor saw that it was Bai Luoyu, he snorted in his heart but did not say anything. The Bai family of the East City was not to be trifled with. However, there was no expert from the Bai family this time. It was just a little girl. In that case, there was no need to be modest. The highest bidder would get it. 42 million immortal crystals. Old man Zhao said after some thought. However, what made him excited was that Bai Luoyu did not continue to bid after he made his bid. Old man Zhao knew that it was not because Bai Luoyu did not have that many immortal crystals on him, but because Bai Luoyu was not very interested in the nether flame. 50 million low-grade immortal crystals. Although Bai Luoyu was not interested, Wei Xiaozi really wanted the nether flame. Old man Zhao felt helpless when he saw Wei Xiaozi joining the bidding. Among the Bai family, Song family, and Wei family of the East City, except for Chen Yeye, 3 of the 4 big families were interested in the nether flame. When old man Zhao revealed his cultivation, Tang Ao felt very dissatisfied in his heart. That was because this old man surnamed Zhao clearly wanted to rely on his martial power to force others to back off. However, when he saw that there were still many people bidding, Tang Ao felt relieved. In the end, the nether flame that Tang Ao put up for auction was won by Wei Xiaozi. However, when Wei Xiaozi paid the immortal crystals, Tang Ao saw that Wei Xiaozi did not take out low-grade immortal crystals. Instead, he took out 5,000 mid-grade immortal crystals that Tang Ao had never seen before. There were 4 types of immortal crystals: low-grade, mid-grade, high-grade, and supreme-grade immortal crystals. 1 mid-grade immortal crystal could be exchanged for 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals, and so on and so forth. Originally, after the nether flame, The auction item was supposed to be Tang Ao's 3-star pill furnace. However, the 3-star pill furnace had been taken over by the Chamber of Immortality, so it did not flow out. After that, a large number of immortal artifacts and various pills were auctioned off. Some of these immortal artifacts and pills belonged to Tang Ao, while others belonged to other martial artists. However, the prices of these pills and immortal artifacts were quite normal. There was nothing special about them. And when the next auction item was taken out, Tang Ao suddenly perked up, because the item being auctioned this time was the Violet Cloud Dew. The Violet Firmament Dew was a treasure used to nurture the sword refining fruit. If Tang Ao wanted to nurture the sword refining fruit, the Violet Firmament Dew was indispensable. On the auction stage, a maidservant came up with a jade tray. On the jade tray was a transparent crystal bottle. The bottle was half filled with a light purple liquid. When his sole remembrance swept over the light purple liquid, a warm and icy feeling instantly circulated through his body, making him feel very comfortable. Some of the martial artists knew what it was, but most of them were at a loss. This item is called Purple Cloud Dew. It can be consumed directly or used to cultivate spiritual herbs. The more violet firmament dew there is, the more valuable it is. This half bottle of violet firmament dew was found in a ruin by our Chamber of Immortality's martial artists. Although there isn't much of it, it is definitely old enough. If it wasn't for the fact that there was so little of this violet firmament dew, Luo Hongying would not have brought it out to auction. Chapter 2401. If it was used to brew immortal wine, this little amount of purple cloud dew could only brew 1 cup. If it was used to cultivate extinct immortal plants, it would require even more purple cloud dew. Only if it was used to nourish the seeds of the sword refinement fruit and awaken them from their slumber would the purple cloud dew be more than enough. When he thought of this, Tang Ao decided that he had to get his hands on this bottle of purple cloud dew no matter what. I won't go into detail about the value of the purple cloud dew. The starting bid for this bottle is 1 million immortal crystals, and each increment must be no less than 10,000 immortal crystals. The bidding begins now. 1 million immortal crystals. As soon as Luo Hongying's words fell, Tang Ao immediately spoke up. Everyone was surprised when they heard Tang Ao's bid. Tang Ao's voice came from the 3rd floor, and the martial practitioners on the 3rd floor were all of high status. Since the beginning of the auction, only the martial practitioners on the 1st and 2nd floor had been bidding. The martial practitioners on the 3rd floor had spoken less than 10 times. Therefore, Tang Ao's bid immediately attracted many people's attention. When everyone saw that the bidder was actually Tang Ao, a trace of astonishment flashed across their eyes. The martial practitioners of South Ruin City knew that Tang Ao was a Grade 1 immortal pill master, so they weren't surprised that Tang Ao was bidding for the purple cloud dew. The martial practitioners of North Ruin City were already martial practitioners of Langya Realm, but they didn't know Tang Ao's identity. However, when they saw that Tang Ao was sitting on the 3rd floor of the Ruins of Immortality auction and was arrogant enough to ignore the restrictions, they knew that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. However, that was only true for others. Song Dongquan and Tang Ao had a grudge between them. Seeing that Tang Ao wanted this bottle of purple cloud dew, Song Dongquan quickly said, 10 million immortal crystals. What? Song Dongquan's words caused an uproar. Since the start of the auction, there had been items that went for more than 10 million immortal crystals, but this was the first time a treasure had gone for more than 9 million immortal crystals. Normally, such a large bottle of purple cloud dew would go for around 1 million to 1.5 million immortal crystals. Even if it was of good quality and age, it was already very good if such a large bottle could fetch 3 million immortal crystals. However, Song Dongquan and Tang Ao seemed to have some kind of conflict, and Song Dongquan actually raised the price to 10 million. 20 million. To everyone's surprise, of course, Tang Ao said without thinking. Furthermore, Tang Ao's bid was also very shocking. His bid had increased by 10 million immortal crystals. Hearing Tang Ao's bid, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. At this moment, everyone started to understand why everyone on the third floor had to use restrictions to shield themselves, except for Tang Ao. That was because Tang Ao was rich and overbearing, and he disdained to hide his head and show his tail. You! When Song Dongkuan saw that Tang Ao was not angry and even directly quoted a price, he was speechless for a while. Song Dongkuan still had 100 million low-grade immortal crystals on him. Although it was a lot, these low-grade immortal crystals were to be used to bid for a spear that had been refined to the 4th stage for his big brother. Although Song Dongkuan could continue to raise the price, he was worried that if Tang Ao didn't want it anymore, he would be finished. Chapter 2402. Seeing this scene, everyone immediately looked at Song Dongkuan with disdain. When they looked at Tang Ao, their eyes were filled with curiosity. Originally, when they saw Song Dongkuan raise the price like that, many people thought that Tang Ao would fly into a rage out of humiliation. However, to everyone's surprise, Tang Ao completely ignored Song Dongkuan and directly raised the price to 20 million low-grade immortal crystals. At this moment, everyone was looking forward to Song Dongkuan continuing to raise the price. They wanted to see what Tang Ao would do if Song Dongkuan continued to raise the price or not. Unfortunately, they would not have the chance to see this, because at this moment, Song Dongkuan was gritting his teeth, but he did not dare to continue bidding. His martial arts talent could only be considered above average among the direct descendants of the Song family. However, because of the existence of his big brother, Song Dongqian, he always enjoyed the best treatment among the direct descendants of the Song family. Therefore, he did not dare to make any mistakes when his big brother asked him to bid for the golden spear. Although the purple cloud's dew was good, after Tang Ao raised the price to 20 million, no one dared to bid against Tang Ao. After all, this purple cloud's dew was rare in the ruins of immortality. It could be bought in some large commercial houses in Langya realm. However, the purple cloud's dew in the commercial houses was not as old and pure. However, the price of 20 million immortal crystals was still far higher than the price of the purple cloud's dew. Tang Ao naturally knew about this, but even so, Tang Ao had no choice but to buy the purple cloud's dew. There was no other reason than that Tang Ao did not know when he would be able to go to Langya realm. He also did not know when he would be able to encounter the purple cloud's dew again if he missed this opportunity. Immortal crystals were just a kind of resource. As long as it was a resource that could be used, it would be the most useful. Moreover, after this auction, Tang Ao would not be short of immortal crystals. As the purple cloud's dew was transferred to the transportation platform beside Tang Ao took out his black gold identity card and swiped it across the transportation platform. In an instant, 20 million immortal crystals were deducted from Tang Ao's black gold card. After the purple cloud dew, the next auction item was a piece of broken wall. It was a black stone tablet. When Tang Ao saw it, he was stunned at first, but then he found it familiar. Finally, Tang Ao understood that this stone tablet was the black brick he had seen before. Seeing this, Tang Ao was speechless. This stone tablet had actually become a black brick in the auction brochure. Regardless of whether it was the stone tablet or the black brick, Tang Ao was going to take this black stone tablet with him. After seeing this stone tablet, Tang Ao immediately saw the golden lines on the stone tablet. At this moment, not only Tang Ao but many people were also looking at this stone tablet. However, without exception, no one could tell what this stone tablet was. Seeing that everyone was interested, Luo Hongying introduced, This stone tablet was discovered by our immortal ruins Chamber of Commerce under the mysterious Ain River. Hearing the name Mysterious Ain River, the warriors in the ruins of immortality were at a loss. They did not know what kind of place Mysterious Ain River was, but the warriors from Langya realm were all excited. Chapter 2403. It wasn't a tributary of the river Styx, but the source of the river Styx. In other words, the water in the river Styx came from the Styx River. There were countless souls in the Styx River. Any martialist who died in the vicinity of the Styx River would have their souls sucked into the Styx River. Although the Styx River contained boundless netherworld energy, it wasn't a place for souls to hide. Even a celestial turbid realm expert's soul would lose consciousness the moment it entered the Styx River. If one entered the Styx River without any protection, one's physical body would collapse and decay very quickly. Although the Styx River was mysterious and terrifying, countless martialists still flocked to it. After all, treasures would often appear in the Styx River. When they heard Luo Hongying say that the stone tablet was a treasure found in the Styx River, many people were tempted. However, when Luo Hongying announced the price of the stone tablet, everyone immediately quieted down. The Chamber of Immortal Ruins has studied this stone tablet for 100 years, but we've found nothing. It might not be fated with us. Luo Hongying paused for a moment before continuing. Therefore, we've decided to take this stone tablet out and leave it for the fated one. The starting price of this nameless stone tablet is 10,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. You can bid for it with low-grade immortal crystals of the same value. 10,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. Tang Ao's head buzzed when he heard this price. 10,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals was equivalent to 100 million low-grade immortal crystals. Using 100 million low-grade immortal crystals to bid for a stone of unknown use? Tang Ao felt that although this stone tablet might be related to the chaotic fire elemental bead, there was no evidence to prove that it was. If Tang Ao was asked to take out 100 million immortal crystals to bid for it, it would be impossible for Tang Ao to do so. Tang Ao couldn't do it, but there were many people who were interested in this stone tablet. 10,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. A shady voice came from not far away from Tang Ao. It was an ashen-skinned old man. When Tang Ao was bidding for the purple cloud dew, this old man had used his soul remembrance to investigate Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao was rather concerned about this old man. Tang Ao sensed a dense aura of death from this old man. It was obvious that this old man's cultivation method leaned towards the dark underworld. 11,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. After hearing this bid, Tang Ao's expression became a bit strange. This was because the person who had bid this time was also related to Tang Ao. Previously, when the tortoise shell had appeared in the auction house, this old man and another old man from the Immortal Ruins auction had used their soul remembrance to probe Tang Ao. Old Demon Qilian, this old man cultivates the underworld shadow technique. This stone tablet is perfect for me to comprehend. You are a craftsman, why are you competing with me? Ain Kei did not continue to bid, but asked calmly. Old Devil Scarlet Serpent? Hearing this name, Tang Ao's heart skipped a beat. This was because the eldest disciple of Dao Lord Skyfire was called Qilianzi. This person was called Old Demon Qilian, and he was a craftsman. Could he be that Qilianzi, or was he related to Qilianzi? Tang Ao thought to himself. 12,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. Ain Kei did not wait for Old Demon Qilian's reply and bid again. I am also interested in this stone tablet. 13,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. The person who bid this time was Wei Xiaozi, who was sitting on the second floor. Although Wei Xiaozi's purpose for this trip was not this stone tablet, he was very interested in it. Chapter 2404. 14,000 Mid-Grade Immortal Crystals. After Ian K finished speaking, he bid again. This steel was Ian K's goal this time. Therefore, unless Wei Xiaozi and the others didn't want anything else and competed with him, he wouldn't be able to get this steel. However, with Xian here, Wei Xiaozi and the others' goal was obviously something else. Old Ian freak, if you want to bid, just bid properly. Why do you keep stopping others from bidding? Luo Hongying giggled and said to Ian Quebec, I'm all alone, and my financial resources are limited. If I don't spend some effort, this steel won't belong to me. In the end, under Ian K's persuasion, Ian K won the steel for 18,000 mid-grade immortal crystals. After getting the steel, Ian K coldly snorted and immediately left. However, before Ian K left, he unexpectedly left a soul remembrance imprint on Tang Ao's body. As soon as Ian K left, an old man suddenly appeared in the place where Ian K had just been. After checking for a while, the old man was about to leave. However, he seemed to have thought of something and actually waved his hand to leave a soul remembrance imprint on Tang Ao's body. If it were an ordinary astral reaching realm martial artist, he naturally wouldn't be able to see all of this. However, Tang Ao was not an ordinary astral reaching realm martial artist. Therefore, the entire action was clearly seen by Tang Ao. It was like watching someone grab a handful of mud and sprinkle it on your body. Although Tang Ao knew, at this moment, Tang Ao could only pretend that he didn't know anything. When the old man saw that Tang Ao didn't have any expression on his face, he nodded in satisfaction. Then, he took a step forward and disappeared. After the old man disappeared, there were still waves of faint spatial fluctuations at the place where the old man had just been. At this moment, a phrase suddenly popped out: spatial transfer. Spatial transfer was the signature technique of chaotic heaven realm martial artists. Martial artists who hadn't reached chaotic heaven realm, even half-step chaotic heaven realm martial artists like Ian K, couldn't perform this spatial transfer. At this moment, Tang Ao also knew who this old man was. This elder brother was the martial artist that had used soul remembrance to investigate him with the scarlet serpent Old Devil. After he left, Tang Ao saw the cultivator known as Old Demon Qi Lian take out a space-breaking talisman and slap it on his body. After slapping the space-breaking talisman, Old Devil Qi Lian looked in the direction of Tang Ao and said in surprise, "You can see me?" After saying this, a white light flashed and Old Devil Qi Lian disappeared. On the other hand, Tang Ao was quite frightened by Old Devil Scarlet Serpent's words. This was the first time Tang Ao was discovered by someone when he used sky polarity eyes to scan others. After the unknown stone tablet was sold for a sky-high price, everyone in the auction house became excited. They wanted to see what treasure would be auctioned next. At this moment, a maidservant brought over a jade plate with a piece of crystal on it. After seeing this crystal, Tang Ao was delighted because this crystal was the black tortoise blood crystal that Tang Ao needed. The black tortoise blood crystal was also a treasure, but it didn't have many uses. Therefore, Tang Ao wasn't surprised and bought this black tortoise blood crystal. After the black tortoise blood crystal, a few fourth-grade immortal herbs appeared one after another. Tang Ao didn't hesitate and bought all of them. Seeing this, many people wanted to go crazy. Chapter 2405. Alright, this auction will temporarily end here. Everyone rest for half a day. Tonight, we will begin bidding for the final 10 treasures of this auction. Luo Hongying said as everyone watched speechlessly as Tang Ao bid for a large pile of materials. Hearing Luo Hongying's words, everyone was delighted. They all got up and walked out of the auction house, asking each other what the final 10 treasures were. Of course, there was also a portion of people who closed their eyes and sat in their original spots, waiting for the final segment to begin. Tang Ao sat in his original spot, but this time, Tang Ao casually set up a first-grade restriction around him. This restriction was very crude, and a yin-yang realm martial artist's soul remembrance could easily penetrate it. However, if an expert used soul remembrance to spy on him, Tang Ao would immediately know. After setting up the restriction, Tang Ao took out the purple cloud dew that he had previously bid for to have a look. Just now, after bidding for the purple cloud dew, Tang Ao immediately put it away. At this moment, Tang Ao wanted to inspect the bottle carefully and then keep it safe. However, this time, when Tang Ao picked up the purple cloud dew, Tang Ao was shocked. This was because Tang Ao discovered that the jade bottle containing the purple cloud dew wasn't simple. This jade bottle was surprisingly made from a 9th-grade immortal material called void jade. Although the purple cloud dew was a decent treasure, using void jade to store it in a jade box was too extravagant. This much void jade could be used to refine a void ring. The void ring had its own small world, similar to Tang Ao's Primal Chaos 6 light mirror. However, it didn't have complete heaven and earth laws, so its range was limited. However, it could be used to grow ordinary immortal herbs and raise some ordinary immortal birds. After discovering that this jade bottle was actually made from void jade, Tang Ao immediately used heavenly pole pupils to examine the jade bottle. With just a glance, Tang Ao showed a shocked expression. That was because this jade bottle was sealed by a grade 9 immortal array. This grade 9 immortal array had been torn open by brute force. The person who tore open this hole seemed to know some array formations. Then, he used a grade 3 immortal array to seal the hole. However, as time passed, the grade 3 immortal array was on the verge of collapsing. It was also because of this that one of the 9 types of spiritual liquids in the space of the jade bottle was revealed. Even Tang Ao did not expect the jade bottle to have such a large space. Under the observation of Tang Ao's sky polarity eyes, he saw that there were 9 large ponds with a radius of 1,000 feet in the jade bottle. These large ponds all contained extremely precious spiritual liquids. Even with the preciousness of the violet cloud dew, it was ranked the lowest among the 9 ponds. Other than the purple cloud dew, Tang Ao also saw the thunderstorm nectar and the lunar true water. There were also 6 types of spiritual liquid. Tang Ao had some impression of them, but he couldn't name them. If he spent 20 million low-grade immortal crystals to buy a small bottle of violet cloud dew, it would be a huge loss. However, after finding out that this small jade bottle was actually a spatial jade box made of void jade, Tang Ao made a killing. 20 million immortal crystals wasn't even enough to buy a corner of the void jade bottle. With this discovery, Tang Ao quickly put up a restriction and kept the void jade bottle. As for the other 6 spiritual liquids in the jade bottle, Tang Ao would have time to study them in the future. After keeping the void jade bottle, Tang Ao took out the black tortoise blood crystal. Originally, Tang Ao thought that there would be a lot of blood crystals in an auction of this scale. However, Tang Ao had not expected that a 4 spirits blood crystal would appear from the beginning to the end. By now, Tang Ao had basically achieved his goal of coming to the auction. He had obtained the black tortoise blood crystal and the violet cloud dew. As for the stone tablet, Tang Ao really didn't have the ability to fight for it. Moreover, with the soul remembrance imprints of 2 powerful warriors on his body, Tang Ao understood that even if he won the stone tablet, he would still end up as someone else's wedding dress in the end. As for the 2 soul remembrance imprints on his body, Tang Ao pondered for a moment and suddenly felt a cold gaze on him. Tang Ao raised his head and immediately saw Song Dongkuan sitting on the 2nd floor. After seeing Song Dongkuan, Tang Ao's eyes immediately lit up. Just now, Tang Ao was still thinking about how to deal with these 2 soul remembrance imprints. The moment he saw Song Dongkuan, Tang Ao immediately understood what to do with these 2 soul remembrance imprints. Without much to say, Tang Ao immediately peeled off the soul remembrance imprints from his body and used his soul remembrance to brand it on Song Dongkuan's body. If Song Dongkuan was a yin-yang realm martial artist, he might have been able to detect Tang Ao's actions. Unfortunately, this Song Dongkuan was only at the 5th level of the astral reaching realm. Although his cultivation was a bit higher than Tang Ao's, his soul remembrance compared to Tang Ao's was like heaven and earth. Chapter 2406. Tang Ao knew 3 of the last 10 treasures of the Ruins of Immortality auction. These 3 treasures were the pure gold sword, pure gold saber, and pure gold spear that Tang Ao had refined with pure gold sand not long ago. Pure gold sand wasn't considered a top-grade immortal material. It was only a 4th-grade immortal material. In true martial domain, there were many materials that were better than pure gold sand. However, those top-grade immortal materials were all in the hands of the overlord forces. It was already very good for an ordinary martial artist to obtain an immortal tool made from pure gold sand. The reason why pure gold sand was only a 4th-grade immortal material was because it contained more than 90% impurities. For an immortal material to still be a 4th-grade immortal material after containing 90% impurities, it was clearly not an ordinary material. Since ancient times, countless talented refiners had tried to remove the impurities from the pure gold sand. However, they had little success. This was because the impurities in the pure gold sand were almost one with it. After countless years of research by countless refiners, they discovered that the impurities in the pure gold sand were pure gold powder. Pure gold powder was a 3rd-grade immortal material. This material was very special. It almost didn't exist on its own. It was usually mixed with other materials. Moreover, pure gold powder and pure gold sand were the most compatible. After the two were mixed, even the high temperature of the immortal flame could only melt the pure gold sand. It couldn't remove the pure gold powder from the pure gold sand. When Tang Ao was refining the immortal tools, he naturally discovered this problem. After discovering this problem, Tang Ao didn't think of using refining methods to resolve it. Instead, he thought of using pill refining methods to deal with it. Therefore, naturally, Tang Ao thought of the ice purification method. This method was used to remove the impurities in the pill refining process. Therefore, Tang Ao refined the pure gold sand as a pill. He didn't expect it to have such a miraculous effect. He directly removed 60% of the impurities in the pure gold sand. After 60% of the impurities were removed, the pure gold sand became translucent. Of course, it wasn't just a change in appearance. More importantly, after 60% of the impurities were removed, the pure gold sand's strength greatly increased. It was also more compatible with immortal spiritual power. When using this kind of pure gold sand to refine an immortal artifact, one's immortal spiritual energy would be unobstructed and its power would be even greater. Of course, many people came with a skeptical attitude. The crimson gold sword, crimson gold saber, and other treasures were just what the Chamber of Immortal Ruins advertised to the public. As for what these treasures were like, he would have to see them with his own eyes to know. Actually, there was no need for the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality to give them half a day of rest. The reason they stopped for half a day was to let everyone prepare the immortal crystals. After all, a lot of good treasures had been auctioned before. Although there were many people here, they were well prepared. But because there were too many treasures that had appeared before, it was inevitable that the following 10 treasures would be a little difficult to make ends meet. Half a day passed quickly, and a small number of people had already left in advance. It was obvious that these people had obtained what they wanted. Knowing that he wouldn't be able to bid for the rest of the treasures, he didn't have the mood to stay and watch, so he left early. However, most people chose to stay. Even though there were only 10 treasures in the finale, it was still good to stay and broaden their horizons. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.